We will go ahead and convene at 5:30 presentation today. We welcome everybody here to the city of Homestead. This is a great day, and we have two presentations, if I'm not mistaken. One of the agendas. Thank you. First presentation is a proclamation in honoring September as Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and also this is Sickle Cell Awareness Day. And so yesterday I was at the county with the Executive Director, Harold Ford, presenting about my personal challenges with sickle cell anemia, and to the Board of County Commissioners and the county mayor. And so they presented the Sickle Cell Foundation for Miami a proclamation that a resolution that my commissioner in District 3, Commissioner Audrey M. Evanson, sponsored last year, a resolution to make this month the Sickle Cell Awareness Month. And also, we here at the City of Homestead has made this month from a resolution that I sponsored to make this Sickle Cell Awareness Month. But today is the Sickle Cell Awareness Day within the month. And then this Saturday, we have the Sickle Cell Walk at Mayor Roscoe Warren Park. So it gives me personal depth and gratitude to present these proclamations. One is to the Courtney Vega Sports Athletic Foundation, which I think she's here. So come on up, Courtney. Yeah, that's you. Courtney also battles with this terrible disease that we both have. Her mom, Ms. Braggs, have been very supportive. Many of you know that Courtney runs track, and she was a great champion in that. But she also suffers from the disease in which is so debilitating. And at times, many of you may not know that sickle cell anemia is a disease that is a genetic trait through both parents that we inherit. And what it does is, because of the way our cells are shaped, most normal persons, like many of yourselves, have very round, oval, flexible cells, your red blood cells. Ours are shaped like half moons or some kind of crescent, and so when they get into a blood vessel, they create excruciating pain that does not have an appointment, and that provides us at times to be what they call sickle cell crisis. And so sometimes a sickle cell crisis can last from a week, 2 weeks, 2 days, a month. It just really depends. And so we have to try and manage that every day. And so, as I told the Board of County Commissioners yesterday, there's not a day that does not go by that I don't feel fatigue or have some kind of pain within my body. Even today, right now, I feel a little sluggish. So that means that I need to go home and get some rest. So today, but we're making the awareness. We're making people aware of this disease. There's about 100,000 people in America who suffer with this kind of disease. And so we need to bring more awareness, and it does not just affect the African American community, but Asian community, European community, the Caribbean, do carry the traits. And so we want to bring those awareness. But this proclamation reads, whereas the purpose of the Courtney Vega Sports Athletic Foundation is to empower students and parents by offering personal and social development, establishment, and achieving educational, personal, and career goals through a personalized learning model which provides multiple learning environments within and beyond the classroom and their individual sports. And whereas the Courtney Vega Sports Athletic Foundation is organized exclusively for educational, charitable, scientific, and athletic purposes, and whereas Courtney Vega Sports Athletic Foundation is committed to developing students who are adapted to society, equipped with the skills, knowledge, and temperament to become personally fulfilled, mutual beneficial, social, responsible student athletes and adults. And the Courtney Vega Sports Athletic Foundation is devoted to providing sickle cell anemia disease support, knowledge, and awareness. And our goal is to accelerate the development of self-confidence and to provide our students with the athletic and academic foundation necessary for responsible citizenship. Therefore, the Mayor, Jeff Porter, of the City of Homestead, Florida, do hereby proclaim these 23rd and 25th days of September, Courtney Vega Sports Athletic Foundation weekend that's coming up in Homestead, in witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the great seal of Homestead to be affixed. Mayor Jeff Porter, the City of Homestead, Patricia Faircloth, Vice Mayor John Burgess, Councilman, Evers Maldonado, Councilman, Larry Roth, Councilman, Stephen R. Shelley, Councilman, and Jimmy L. Williams III, Councilman. This is for you and your foundation. Congratulations. Good work. You want to say anything?
Thank you. Thank you.
Her mom say thank you, say thank you. So it's incredible for your age to have such a great foundation, and whatever we could do to be supportive of your cause. It's wonderful to know that you're supporting and that you're helping others to learn more about sickle cell awareness. So congratulations again. Don't go anywhere. All right. Also, this proclamation, is she here? She's not. So we have a proclamation to honor also the Foundation for Sickle Cell Research Day here in Homestead. And I'll just read this. Whereas September is designated month to promote sickle cell disease awareness, a disease that affects the blood cells and their ability to carry oxygen. And whereas sickle cell disease affects approximately 100,000 Americans and approximately 3 million people carry the sickle cell trait. And whereas the Foundation for Sickle Cell Disease Research is a comprehensive nonprofit organization that provides a platform for research, healthcare provider, and for those living with sickle cell disease. And whereas the Foundation for Sickle Cell Disease Research was founded in December 2012 by Dr. Lynetta Brandt, who is well-known advocate for sickle cell research and patients. And whereas the Foundation for Sickle Cell Disease Research is a national first standing alone outpatient center completely devoted to sickle cell care and research in an area with the highest number of individuals affected by sickle cell. Therefore, I, the Mayor Jeff Porter, the Mayor of the City of Homestead, do hereby proclaim this September day to be Foundation for Sickle Cell Research Support and Promoting Day in Homestead. So they're not here tonight to accept this, but we will make sure we get it to them. I had a chance to visit this center, and the center is in Broward County, and it's fully devoted just for sickle cell patients. They go in, they get their pain meds or whatever they need. There's an on-site hematologist there, and they help. It's like a day spa, so in order for you to visualize it, and they just focus that on sickle cell anemia, no other disease. So you can actually go there and get treated just for sickle cell. And it was such an incredible experience that I want to honor the research and what she had done, because she's done quite a bit. Dr. Danette, that she's at the University of Miami, and she's dedicated her life to this research. And so I wanted to kind of recognize her. And so persons living with this disease, such as myself, today I got a letter from my doctor, my hematologist, said that they were not going to accept our insurance anymore. So for me, that's major, because he has been my hematologist for 8 years. And so to find another hematologist in Dade County that understands my complexity or our complexity of our disease is going to be tough. And so we in the healthcare industry hopefully could be a little bit more understanding of such. And so that's why it's very important to make people aware of this kind of disease that we're living with. So I wanted to do that while Courtney was standing here. Mom, do you have anything you want to say?
It's just an honor to be able to have a walk celebrating the life of individuals living with the disease and bringing awareness to the city of Homestead. As stated before, there are resources north. However, we want to bring resources south where individuals that don't have the adequate transportation will have the same availability to them. It is life-threatening, and there are so many different complications that can happen. But I just thank God that my daughter don't suffer from a lot of the things that so many do. So I'm grateful to Mayor and Council for the support of this walk on this weekend.
Thank you so very much. And I think that's it. I think we're going to get a few pictures. Who's the photographer? Where's the photographer? You? You knew. Oh, come on. We got to get the picture in. All right, the next presentation is to recognize our supporters for the Southwest Backpack Giveaway. Selena, would you come and help me with this? We had the Southwest Advisory Board put together, along with Selena, who did the legwork, for our kids to go back to school. Is some of the members here from the Southwest? Mr. Brock, come on up. Aren't you're part of the board, right? Southwest Advisory Board. And so this year we had such an amazing turnout. We had vendors. We had persons to come out. We served, I forget the total count that it was, but it was a lot of kids, and it was a lot of families. And then even after the event, we had some backpacks left that we gave to other organizations. And so it was an incredible year. We had it at Blakely Park. We had the K-9 units out there. We had, those demonstrations. The crowd was just phenomenal. We had persons giving out haircuts for the kids and shaping them up, getting ready for school. We had the Energy Service Department out there. I mean, we just had an incredible time, and we fed everybody that we could. We gave them all kind of pizza and water and whatever else that we could. And the interesting thing about it is to be able to see the smiles on those kids' face when we give them that backpack, because it's not just an empty backpack, but the backpack had supplies in it. And if you've got a home, or if you've got kids of 2 and 3 or 4 kids, and I know I'm not with my son, it's a lot of money that they ask for. They ask a list of things from his school or what they need for him, and then what they need for the classroom. And so it can be very expensive. And just to know that we was able to put a small dent into that and give these kids some hope and get them prepared as some tools and equipment so they'll go back to school with everything that they need. And so we want to honor the police explorer. Would the chief come forward, please? Because I don't think the police explorers are here. Would you receive this? Thank you to City of Homestead Police Explorers. Councilman Jim L. Williams, Southwest District, thanks you for your participation in the annual backpack giveaway. Your contribution to the community has been invaluable. September 2016. Thank you so much, Chief, and for your support over the years with this event. And I think what we tried to do was we tried to bridge the community together with those with the community policing, which were awesome. And so I think that really worked, and I think we got to continue to do that. And so, Chief, it's through your leadership and through your experience and your command that we're where we are today, in great shape and with spunk. And did y'all see Chief on dancing? I couldn't believe some of the moves you did, Chief. Yeah. Yeah, how much room? Yeah. Okay. But we want to thank you for your incredible leadership. And so we're going to call those other persons and names that supported us. Homestead Hospital, always, for water. Lowe's Home Improvement Store, Verite Insurance and Consulting Partners, Formula and Automotive Racing Association. They provided tickets for the kids to go to a race in every backpack. And for the ladies of Pi Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. The ladies were great. Thank you, Selena, for that. And I think that's it. Anybody else we're missing? I think that's it. But we honor them and we thank them, and we're going to send them their thank you. And so, Chief, thank you so very much. Rock, do you have anything you want to say as a board member? All right, very good. Thank you so much. This will conclude our presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Wednesday, September 21, 2016 council meeting to order. It's approximately 6:03 p.m. This evening we'll have the invocation by Pastor Brock Shifford, pastor of Speedway Community Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and Councilman Larry Roth and the Police Explorers. Please stand.
I can do this. We all should be required to be here at 5 o'clock every month. We would see what's right with Homestead. The 6 o'clock evening gets a little interesting around here, but I would remind all of us, ladies and gentlemen, God's still in charge of both hours. Let's go to him now. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you, first of all, because you're God and we're not. We thank you that you provide the answers that matter in our individual lives, in our family lives, in our neighborhood lives, and certainly in the life of Homestead. Father, I'm reminded as a person very involved in this community for a number of years, we all should be totally committed to leaving Homestead better than we found it. And I know for a fact that that is taking place in so many corridors right now, so many. Father, we give you praise and glory for the way that numerous schools are coming together as never before in this community. We're seeing F schools become C schools, and we're seeing attitudes change and grades improving and a common purpose of being there for our children. I'm seeing churches come together as never before in this community, putting aside the individual denominational bent and being interested in kingdom building. And I want to thank you, Father, for the police department in this community, for the firemen in this community, for all the reminders of what goes on right in this community. And Father, we think of our military right now. Many of them are overseas right now serving our country. Father, thank you for the MAC. Thank you for the relationship we have in the community. Thank you for all the military that give back to our community. May we understand that it is not about us. It is not about us. It's about you. So as we go into this 6 o'clock hour here in Homestead, may we put aside our ego. May we put aside our self-centeredness. May we put aside our own personal agendas. May we make you Lord of this city. And we ask it all in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order arms. Left face. Forward march.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Pastor, for the invocation this evening, and Mr. Roth. Appreciate that very much. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado. Here. Councilman Williams. Here. Councilman Roth. Here. Councilman Burgess. Here. Councilman Shelley. Here. Mayor Porter.
Here. And I think for the record, Vice Mayor is at a forum, community forum. She wasn't able to make it tonight. She was here earlier for the budget meeting, but I think she had to, with the school board, that's correct. So she's still out there working for us. Mr. Manager, any additions, deletions, deferrals?
James, correct me, but it's 13, 14, and 15. We got a request to table, correct? Just wanted to make sure I got the right items.
You're on, now you're off. Okay. 13, we'll go.
Tab 13, 14, and 15.
The applicant has requested a deferral of tabs 13, 14, and 15 till your October meeting, so it'd be to a date certain of October 26th for those items.
We need a motion to move that, Richard, or that's because the applicant pulled it, or
Pardon?
do we need a motion to do anything with that?
Yes, we should have a motion to defer this to the October, what's the date, Jane?
26th.
October 26th meeting.
Is there a second? Moving and seconded. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, the applicant is here. He can, I believe the applicant's here. He can explain why he's requested the deferral. Is he here, James?
I'm not sure, but
Mayor.
the correspondence we received from Mr. Coker, who is the counsel for the applicant, explained in his letter that there was information in the staff report, additional information in the staff report, in which the applicant and he would like a chance to review and analyze, and would require additional time.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Is there, moving on to tab 1, consent agenda, is there a motion on consent agenda? Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't vote on that. We didn't call it. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess. Councilman Shelley. Councilman Roth. Councilman Williams. Mayor Porter.
Yes. Moving on to tab 1, consent agenda. Is there a motion on consent agenda? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Comments, questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Quasi judicial, tab 12, Mr. Attorney. James, you keep turning yourself off. I'll leave you
Yeah,
on.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yes, this is the quasi-judicial section of the agenda. Please be advised, the following item on the agenda is quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon this item, please indicate that you would like to address this item when the announcement is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on this item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on this item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on this item is hereby entered into the record, and persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on the following item. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communication concerning the following agenda item.
Mr. Burgess.
Tab 12.
Mr. Burgess on tab 12.
The applicant's representative.
So at this time, I'd ask the clerk to swear in any persons who wish to testify on tab 12.
Please stand, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, please state your name, hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you. You may be seated.
Tab 12 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the request by NVR Inc. for an amendment to a previously approved site plan of a 48-unit single-family residential subdivision on an approximately 9.64-acre parcel generally located south of Southwest 323rd Street, west of Southeast 30th Terrace, north of Southeast 4th Place, and east of Southwest 152nd Avenue, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. We recommend the mayor and council approve the amendment to the proposed site plan. Essentially, what this does is really just swap units, unit types out. We reviewed the unit types, and they're consistent with the criteria and the standards set forth in our site plan criteria code, section 3047 of the city code in the R1 district for low-density residential. So we took this to the Planning and Zoning Board. They have recommended approval in a 4-1 vote. We're also still recommending approval.
Questions from council? Mr. Williams? Mr. Williams?
Yes, sir. So the 40, what's going to be the average cost of this house?
Hold on.
Hugo Arza, offices at 701 Brickell Avenue. Councilman, I'm joined today by Barbie Roqueta of Ryan Homes, and she's telling me, did I understand 320,000? Yeah. I mean, it's always what the market obviously will dictate, but I think they anticipate selling the single-family homes starting at $320,000.
$325,000. And the size of it, again, for the record?
I'm sorry?
The size of the home?
The size of the homes, yeah, turn to the, we've been,
They here?
I'm sorry? Yeah, so we've got a 2,717 square foot model, a 2,693 square foot model, a 2,245 square foot model, and I may be missing one, sorry. Yeah. Huh? 3,026 square feet. So ranging from about 2,200 square feet to about 3,000 square feet.
Lowest cost on that is how much, 300 and
I
what?
think it's anticipated to be around $320,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. This piece of property adjoins my neighborhood that I live in directly and will be represented by my seat. It's been an ongoing task out there because of the way that our lots were built originally. But the developer and his team of engineers and all have proffered some stuff to our neighbors who are here tonight from Eastlake, and had about a 2.5-hour meeting with the team that's purchasing or building out there and their representatives. And I'll let Mr. Orza state for the record what they have agreed to the neighbors, and then if we could ask one of the neighbors just to come up and say that they do agree to that, and then we'll move on from that. But I do want to thank everybody from our staff to Mr. Orza to the other people out there at Palm Ridge Gardens, because it has been a battle. I have called them probably more times than I've called my wife some days to try to get this thing done and taken care of. But we've gotten there tonight, I believe, and we've got a solution for everybody that should take care of it for the neighbors and all that. And I believe we'll leave that to be stated on the record by Mr. Orza, if he could.
You got it, sir. Mr. Arza?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilman, for the words and for the nudges along the way to make sure that we all got to a solution here today. Just briefly, you're all familiar, or you should be, with this aerial here with the property about 9.64 acres on the east side of Kingman, just south of Maury. You can see it up there. It's the property designated R1 right in the middle on the right, on the sliver, the smaller sliver piece. Approved site plan about 2 years ago. Same number of units, same number of homes moving forward today. When that site plan was approved 2 years ago, the site plan was approved with certain elevations. That is, the style of the homes looked a certain way. You've heard me stand up here and have to, present these cases in the past. A new buyer has entered the picture, Ryan Homes, national home builder, with a terrific reputation, and they develop their homes. They build their models. They have their style. And so what we're doing technically this evening, and what you would vote on, and then I will transition to the issue and the condition we're happy to proffer, is to basically swap out your existing elevations with the elevations that you see here, which have been submitted to staff, which staff has reviewed, and as Mr. Cordino said, are consistent with your underlying requirements for R1. We have their favorable recommendation, and we would ask for your favorable vote today. And that's the end of what you heard me say about actual request this evening, which is about the elevations. We have had a number of conversations with the property owners on Southeast Fourth Place, which is outlined up there just to the south, and they're back there. And we met for a couple hours this afternoon in Mr. Corradino's office. And the issue concerns drainage. As you know, when properties abut to each other and they've been developed at 15 or 20 years difference, whether it's drainage standards that have changed or just shifting conditions in general, you end up with these situations where you end up with these valleys or gulfs or ridges, or call them whatever you want to, that can pool up with water, be unsightly, and we recognize that. So what we did is we worked with them, and I'm going to read, because we took the time, your city attorney and I, to fashion these two conditions. The neighbors have reviewed this language, so hopefully, as long as I read it correctly, we'll all be in agreement. The applicant shall provide to the city and adjacent Eastgate neighbors an engineering cross-section providing for a common berm along the property lines, along with a cost estimate for the engineering and construction of that common berm prior to October 11th, 2016. So what we're going to seek to do is have our engineers, he left already, he was at the meeting, I think he left to go start working on this already. He's going to come up with a cross-section where the berms are here, and so it goes like this, rather than that gulf or valley that you guys are familiar with. That'll be done prior to October 11, 2016. And then prior to October 31st, 2016, or 20 days thereafter, the applicant and all affected Eastgate property owners shall execute a joint permit for the work required for that common berm, with the understanding that each respective homeowner or the applicant, as the case may be, shall be responsible for the costs associated with their parcels. So, that's the actual language. I wanted to read it, but in layman's terms to explain, we will provide the engineering drawing, we will provide the cost estimate, and we hope, and I think the neighbors that are here today are optimistic that they can get all of the neighbors along the south property line, or their north property, our south property line, to join in on this joint permit. We need all of them. That's kind of the challenge here. You can't do this and then have a dip and then not have it work. It's either all or nothing. It's unfortunately, and I think they understand that and we understand that. We needed time certainty. We couldn't have this drag on forever because obviously Ryan Homes wants to move forward, start building homes. So our hope would be that we will provide it within 20 days, that they can get the signatures of everyone within 20 days. And then we'll get the work in and we'll do it, and each party pays for their own, costs for their own property. And hopefully we have just that one common berm where every person doesn't have that gulf or valley in their property. That's it. That's what we have. We, would respectfully ask, and if I think there was one of the neighbors wanted to come up and hopefully just say that they were in agreement with what I had read, but if they have anything to add, I'm sure they can, and I'll be happy to follow up.
I'll open up the public. Mr. Burgess, go ahead.
And while we're waiting on him, I just want to thank Ryan Holmes and welcome him, because I believe this is the first time I've ever heard of them in these chambers in the 9 or 10 years of building a product down
This is
here.
their first project in Miami-Dade? Yeah, first project in Miami-Dade County, but they're a national.
I hope I didn't cause them too many headaches.
No. I mean, as of like 1 o'clock today, they were ready to leave. No, I'm kidding. No, they were happy to. They understood. They want to be good neighbors. They're stepping into these shoes, and I know they're happy to be here.
And I want to thank them for coming in with
appreciate it,
a good attitude. So thank you and welcome.
Any other questions from council for Mr. Arza? Mr. Roth?
Yeah, I wasn't around when this one came up in 2013, and this may be a question for staff and for development services. And it had nothing to do with the site plan itself, but it's egress and ingress into the property coming off of Kingman Road. And I've been focusing a lot on traffic and traffic control. And by looking at this drawing, there's a medium strip that runs straight down Kingman Road. So anybody coming from the north heading south has to continue down to, it looks like it's Eastlake and North Gate, to make a U-turn to go back to their property and to enter their neighborhood. And I've had some conversations with staff, and they have explained that the city really has no control over that, and it was a county decision. And Joe, you may want to explain this a little bit further, because I still don't understand how it's possible that the county would agree to send people south of their property into basically a four-way intersection to make a U-turn to go back up to enter their property. And apparently the county said that we couldn't put a cut-in to allow access from people coming from the north directly to make a turn into their property. Is that how I understood it?
Yes, sir, that's true. What's happened here is that when we went through the initial approval, it was designed in the way that you see it right there. It was a curb cut or median opening wasn't warranted at the time. Council asked the applicant to provide one. The applicant agreed to pay for half of it, I believe, at the time, if it could get approved by the county. I believe they sent plans to Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County denied the plans to not put it there. The exact reasoning, I don't know, but I believe it was because it was too close to another cut or median opening, which I think was the development directly across the street and a little bit to the north. And that's essentially it. So it's a county road. It's the county controlled to approve all the traffic control devices on that road. And so it's their jurisdiction.
Yeah, and it just, for the record, I don't understand how it's possible that that would make any sense to any engineer to send people south of their property to turn back. So if this guy wants to run out to Publix right down the street, in order to get back to his property, he's got to go all the way down to where Eastlake and Northgate are, make a U-turn in their intersection, and then head back north. So maybe in the future, we can, try to avoid those scenarios with traffic in the county, so that it's not an inconvenience, because I can imagine in a few years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, when this development's up, people are living there, they come to us and ask us to put in a turn there, and we have to refer it back to the county because we have no jurisdiction over that particular road. So just wanted to put that on the record that it wasn't something that we did to, avoid the way they enter their property. It's actually a county issue that hopefully in the future, that if it's warranted, they will work with us and allow somebody to put in a turn there. And it just doesn't make any sense to go south and then come back north to go into your property. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I would just add, Councilman, it's a great point, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that at the Planning and Zoning Board, we were, recommended for approval, and we volunteered on behalf, and Ryan Holmes and myself volunteered to go down with neighbors and meet with the county and ask the question again. We did have that meeting about 10 days ago. Spent a lovely hour discussing traffic patterns and engineering with the county's traffic engineers, and unfortunately, we heard the same answer that the property owners had heard several months before, which is that based on their criteria, this location did not warrant a median cut. We certainly understand the frustration of some of the neighbors. We had agreed we'd go and ask the question again, but obviously I think you understand that at some point the county retains traffic jurisdiction in the entire county, whether it's a municipality or it's unincorporated. And so, unfortunately, it's their word. And so, but I did want to put on the record that we had met our obligation from the Planning and Zoning Board, had attended the meeting, and had reported back to staff what that meeting was about, and made our efforts.
Hold on. Go ahead. I'm happy with this product is actually coming to be. Johnson's have been arguing and fighting for this for many years. It's just for someone to say that it doesn't meet a certain ratio of traffic in that area and to inconvenience these people for whatever is going to be inconvenienced. I mean, I particularly wouldn't buy a place that I had to travel past my entrance down south, make a U-turn every day, and then go back up to my property. But I mean, so be it. I don't have to sell the houses. But that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. And in the past, years ago, myself and Mr. Brea went to the county and asked for no U-turn signs there because of the school traffic that's there in the morning, and the county wouldn't even give us no U-turns at that. And we said, well, how about school hours? And they denied us on that also. So the county really holds us hostage as to what we can and can't do, unfortunately. And I thank Mr. Orza and his team again because they did go down to the county and try to persuade or talk them into allowing this to happen because of the issues on that highway. But unfortunately, we don't have control, and what they say is what happens. So I agree with you, though. It's unfortunate that we can't get one there. And at some point, we can keep working on it, but at this particular time, there's no consideration from the county.
Fight on in the future.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
And if you notice, the county is kind of U-turn happy in a lot of these developments, previously, there's been some discussion, we had some discussion about some property on Campbell, and they wanted a U-turn. Again, I'm similar to the conversation of here. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but in the case where it's a county, controlled road, they seem to be, really U-turn happy. But Mr. Shelley?
Just a similar comment. I think we had discussed this at the last time it came for site plan. I think we're discussing it now. And I think the other thing we're starting to notice, I think this is the second or third project now recently that we've kind of dealt with that are these single ins and outs, because it's kind of the leftover development pieces of property that are no longer the 20-acre PUDs or the 10-acre pieces of property. It's the small slivers that kind of got left behind, and now they're coming and backfilling those. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of this. A lot more of our development going forward is going to be these one-way ins and one-way outs. And typically that's where you get the bigger traffic issues. That's where Kendall has the problem. If you go down Kendall Drive, everything's one way in, one way out. They're not connected. So, I think it's something that we need to be a little bit proactive on and see, is there a solution? So before we get the next project before us that has only one way in, one way out, is there a way to solve that problem? And the answer is probably not. I think it's just we're stuck with what we're stuck with. But it would be good to go ahead and start that dialogue with the county or whoever we need to start talking with, so that when we face these issues in the future, we can do what's best for our traffic flow and for those particular developments, versus kind of being stuck with what we've got and then finding out 2, 3, 5, 6 years from now that it ends up making it unfavorable for someone wanting to live there because they can't access their property or because the traffic problems are so bad that no one wants to drive that roadway. So just more of a comment than anything else.
And one thing about this right-of-way, this is a huge right-of-way in this particular road. Unlike the scenario that we find on Campbell, there's no more acquisition, there's no more way to expand the roadway. This particular property, this particular right-of-way is very, very large. And so there could be possibly down the road without any, acquisition of lands, so to speak, maybe be able to go back and fix some of these things at a particular point. But again, that's down the road. So, but I agree, at least in this case, Kingman is a huge right-of-way. Anything else, Mr. Shaw?
If I may just add one other commitment we had made, which, and I apologize because I didn't go back and follow my script or my notes this evening, but at the meeting that we had at the county to discuss the potential median cut, while that wasn't an option per the county's regulations, they did tell us that the city could request revisiting the issue of no U-turns at the front of North Gate and East Gate, and forcing folks to go down to 328 to the sort of lighted intersection to do so. And we offered to provide the traffic study that's been performed for this project, which the city has, but we'd get it back to the city so that they can make it. It's a request the city has to make because that's the way it works. That's how we were told. But the county's folks told us that if the city wanted to make that request, they would revisit the issue of the no U-turn signs. We're happy to provide that traffic study and provide any other kind of support we can, but we know that might take a little while. So, but I did want to get that on the record. I know that one of the gentlemen that joined us at that meeting is here today. I didn't want him to think that we reneged on our offer to provide the traffic study. We're happy to do that.
Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to piggyback off of Councilman Shelley's question is that who would be the contact person in which we would begin these discussions to start addressing these issues through the manager? Maybe Julio might know, or anyone can
I suspect Julio's pretty familiar with both Leo Oña. Yeah, I suspect that he's had a...
Don't worry about the board. I can still hear you. Don't worry about it.
The individual that they went to meet, his name is Leo Oña. Right. And basically, I've dealt with him in the past on issues. So the county's kind of strict in their guidelines, and they don't like to deviate from their guidelines. But it could work out that something could be done in the future as more traffic goes through that road, and we can figure out some other ideas of deceleration lanes and those type of things that at this time with this additional development they don't see that as a need. So they don't want to create what they consider an unsafe condition there without having the proper deceleration lanes, et cetera, and the distances between the other cuts that are going to be in the area.
So technically, we can't go in there as a city and start adding on to these roads or modifying them anyway? Yes,
anything having to do with traffic movements, traffic signalization, it's governed by the county. Whether it's a county road, city road, federal, state, it has to follow the county criteria because it's within Dade County. So they're the ones the reason they do that is so that every road is designed with a uniform type of design so that drivers don't get surprised with different types of design process when they go from one place to another. So that's the reason for
And
it.
this is just for the records, and so the simple answer would be, no, we cannot modify these roads, or yes, we can.
We cannot without county approval.
Okay, just for the record. Thank you.
All right, sir. Any other questions at this point? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone would like to state, I know John wanted something on the record from the homeowners. If you just state your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Kevin Kahn. I'm at 3135 Southeast 4th Place, which is part of the East Lake Village community. I'd like to take time, thank everybody, worked with the builder, came up with a resolution to come up with an agreement on the backfilling and pricing to help with the drainage issues that we may have within our community.
I know Mr. Burgess has been on this for a pretty good while. So,
Yes, he's listened to all of our concerns and has been very proactive and trying to help facilitate getting our issues taken care of, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you and the community for your participation, and Mr. Burgess for, pushing forward. So glad to see there's some sort of resolution on the table.
Correct, yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. You're more than welcome to come speak. Just your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Frank Shabrack. I live at 418 Southeast 30th Terrace, Homestead, Florida.
Thank you, sir.
Question is, my concern is right now with this development, the backfill is pushed up against my property. The flooding is coming into my property, it's destroying my property. I have pictures here to prove this. And I'd like to know what can be done about it. I've been told, yeah, they'll take care of it, but that's hearsay.
Hold on.
That's Oasis. That's in the Oasis neighborhood, sir?
Yes, sir. I live in Antillian,
Okay.
which backs right up into that property.
Yeah, I haven't gone out through the mud out to that way, so I'm not exactly sure of where there comes to, but I guess, Mr. Orza, you can't be maybe 4 or 5 homes back along your property line that backs up to this?
Basically, yeah, I believe it is.
3, maybe 3, no more than 5, correct?
No more than 5, I believe.
Mr. Orza, can we maybe reach out to them and see what they have for an issue too?
I have pictures to show what's going on with it, and if you all like to see them.
Can we reach out to them also, and perhaps your engineer, while he's looking at that, just take a look and see what the issues are with this gentleman and what a solution could possibly be?
If I may.
Those are the pictures?
No, so just to understand, the gentleman, you live on the east side? I'm assuming that's.
Yeah, he'd be on
My house faces east
on
and
this
west.
end back here, and I would imagine there's, like I said, maybe 3, no more than 5 homes that back up to that property line there.
Obviously, we'd be happy to take a look at the conditions. I think that, the timeline for addressing the problems, we need to maintain the 20 and then an additional 20 days, the 40 days. But certainly, we'll provide them with the same information. We'll take a look at it. But is this the first, certainly the first, we just had a 2-hour meeting and this issue hadn't come up.
Right,
So it's a little bit on the spot here.
I wasn't aware of those neighbors over there. I haven't crawled back and looked at the whole entire job site. I know it's along my property line.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I've not gone back through there. That's Oasis, which Vice Mayor Faircloth represents, and I hadn't gotten called by anybody from over there either, so I wasn't aware that there was an issue over there because I wasn't sure how that job site was even built. I wasn't sure how those lots were built, when they were originally built out.
I spoke to David, and I spoke to
Yep.
the site man, and they said, oh, don't worry about it, we'll take care of everything. And nothing is being done. I've got grass that's growing into my yard. It's over 7 feet tall, going over my fence.
Mhm.
and now they pushed all their fill back up onto the property line, so when it rains, the water instead of draining down, just sits in my yard.
Now, does your yard do like at East Lake, the yards come down and go down
No,
like that?
my yard is flat.
Yours, his is what?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I just asked that. So I think it's a slightly different issue. It's not a drainage issue. It's an issue of, while we've been doing construction, their property line and our property line are relatively flat while they've been doing.
That's what I thought. That's why I never crawled back in there.
So it's a different issue from the berm issue or
Okay.
trying to match up two berms, what it is. And I've been told that, yes, that obviously during the construction, some of the sodding has been damaged, and we would be happy to resod and make sure that their property has not been adversely affected. But we don't have the same drainage issue that we have to the south. We don't have a different berm. We don't have anything like that. So
That's what I
I'm happy
thought.
to.
Okay.
Yeah, we're happy to stay
Can
on
you
the
guys
record.
trade numbers, whoever would need to
Absolutely. I'll
trade
give 'em-
numbers with this gentleman and
Give them my card and.
reach out to them?
And sir, if you could,
I will, hopefully these fine folks will vote favorably in a couple of minutes, and then we'll sit to the side and and you can show them to me. Thank you.
and sir, if you would, sir, if you would be so kind as to drop your pictures off with the clerk so that some of the council members can see your problem, if you don't mind, we'll give them back to you. This is a public hearing. You know the drill, sir.
For the record or no?
Name and address.
Stephen McDuffie, 139 Southeast 36th Avenue, Homestead, Florida. I just had a question about traffic flow down the Southwest 320th. What kind of traffic flow are we looking at with increased traffic down that road towards the high school and everything?
320?
What Southwest 320th, East Mallory, going down to that point where you take a left or a right onto Southwest 152nd Ave? And how would it require putting in a stoplight at that location too? Because considering.
Let's get staff to.
I don't recall the exact volumes right now. That was about 3 years ago, but no, it doesn't require, there's not enough volume from this development to require a stoplight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burgess?
No, I just wanted to also reiterate what Mr. Cordino said. We had asked the county about a stoplight at 320 and 152, and they denied that, and we ended up with the stoplight at Pacific and 152 in replacement of that, because I felt like there was more traffic up there, and that was more warranted up there, and it would slow the traffic down also. So enough for 320 to be able to move in and out.
Any other comments from the public? You're more than welcome to come at this time. Name and address, please, sir.
Hi, my name's Alberto Carlos Diaz. I live 30805 Southwest 214th Avenue, and I really support, Kendall and what they're saying about halting development, or at least slowing it down drastically in Dade County, because the traffic out there is atrocious. I have a friend who lives 7 miles from his house, drives 2 hours to get home. I mean, until we create some other highways or ways to get people moving, because it's insane. Even the turnpike is like a parking lot, so this is what my sentiments would be. But thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other questions from council? Any other public comments at this time? I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilman Shelley? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you. And we're going to skip, we pulled down to tab 16.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Chapter 28 Utilities of the City of Homestead Code of Ordinances by amending Section 28201 Water and Sewer Deposits, 28255 Electric Deposits, eliminating the requirement that deposits for utility services are paid prior to connection, amending deposit schedule, providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and effective date. This is a first reading.
Staff report.
Mayor, I asked Catherine to give a brief report because she and her staff have been working really hard to make it a little easier for customers to do business with us. So with that, Catherine?
Mayor and Council, staff recommends that Mayor and Council amend Section 28201 water and sewer deposits and Section 28255 electric deposits, eliminating the need
Pull
for
that
deposit
mic down a
payments.
little bit, if you could, so we can hear you a little better. Go
Sorry.
ahead, try.
Eliminating the need for deposit payments prior to the provision of service. As you know, when we closed the office on January 1st of this year, we had customers who used to come in and pay bills. And so we're looking at ways to make it easier for customers to make their applications and get services from us. And so some of the things we've been doing recently is we're looking at a new application portal that would really allow customers to enter their information in a secure manner, without having to send us a fax or email copy that's unsecure, showing their social security number, their driver's license, date of birth. And so it reduces the chances for customers' information to go places they shouldn't go. Another thing we're doing is we're looking at the telephone application process. We know that we have a large number of a large customer base who do not have access to the email. And what they've been doing is they've been faxing their applications. They've been going to places like Office Depot, Office Max, and paying a small fee to fax their application to us. The telephone portal would allow us to take the applications over the phone, thus eliminating the need for customers to have to go somewhere else in order to apply for services. One of the things that we have completed as well is that before, when a customer applied for e-bills, they would get an e-notification, which was just a small statement that said, here's the amount of your bill, here's the due date of the bill. Customers now, if they log on to our online bill pay system, can actually see, at this point, 7 months of bill history in a PDF form. That'll go up to 12 months by the end of the year. And so it helps customers who've been asking us for more details on their bills. It allows them to be able to view those bills and be able to print those bills and keep it for their records if need be. I'm trying to see. So I think those are some of the things we're doing. We're also changing around the telephone scripting to make it easier for customers to access our services. And so there's some other stuff coming in that will be coming online. For example, we're going to be beta testing the work order system, which would allow our servicemen to close the work order in the field. And this eliminates a lot of the problems we have where customers say, well, no one notified me that my service is off. And the delay is that we have to wait for the serviceman to come back in the office and somebody to physically close the work order in the office. If we close it in the field, then it means that the customers have more real-time information. The clerks have more real-time information, and then they're able to respond to the customers better.
Thank you. Question from council, Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked some staff, had some concerns about this when I first saw it. I support everything you're trying to do as far as the efficiency and trying to make it more convenient for our residents or those people that have moved into our community to get their electric turned on, their water turned on, and all of that. So that I support 100%. The concern that I had, though, dealt with the fact that all of this is going to show up on that first bill. And so if we're going to do it this way, we need to make sure that we have some sort of education process or some sort of warning, because if they get that first bill and it's the first month's, let's say it's a $300, $400 bill if it's a summertime thing, depending on the size of the property or how much electricity, water, et cetera, they've used, then you add to it the potential of a $250 plus deposit. And so that first bill becomes a very unexpected, maybe potentially difficult thing to pay, especially for customers who are maybe lower income. And so next thing you know, they get their water or their electric turned on, and then a month later, we're shutting it off for failure to pay the entire thing at once. So that's the biggest concern that I had in this setup. My understanding is that this is how FP&L does it, and they seem to have not had any issues with it. But that's the only caution I want to raise more as a comment, just to make sure that you guys take that into account as part of rolling this system out, making sure that the people who are signing up are educated that they may end up with a very large first bill and that they need to plan accordingly so that we're not turning around and turning them off and causing kind of more problems on the backside. But I support the concept. I support what you're trying to do as far as the efficiency and making it easier for the customers. Just take that into account, because that could be a shock factor for those that end up having to pay the maximum deposit and their first month's bill. So that's all.
You okay?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Williams?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm of the same thinking and mindset. My only issue is, as my colleague, esteemed colleague has raised, is that that could be quite a bit, and this is based on credit.
Yeah, it's based on
So,
an online credit.
If somebody got a terrible credit score, what is the max they will pay for the deposit, for the record?
A residential customer, they would pay $382.62.
$382?
$382.62.
62.
That includes the connection fees.
That's in the connection fee. And the average, well, my average bill is about $240 a month. I got a small house. I can't afford the east side. So if I had to pay that, that'd be $622 for me and 62 cents. That's a lot of money. Is there a plan to perhaps break that up over the deposit over a 3-month period, or could that happen? So that it's those who cannot afford that at one time, and they won't be placed in a predicament. Because if you're moving in a place and they may require 2 to 3 months, first and last month's rent, I don't know what they do now. And they put this deposit, if they have terrible credit, whatever. But how can we spread this fee out over a course of time?
Councilman Williams, if I can. Currently, right now, the way the process is, if you have bad credit and you come into the city.
I say challenging credit.
I'm sorry?
I say challenging credit.
I'm sorry, excuse me, challenging credit. You have to pay the deposit up front. In fact, FP&L makes that requirement.
I know.
And
I'm
we
aware
do
of that.
also.
I'm aware of that, but I'm talking about Homestead.
We're not really changing that at all. This is like not a new
What I'm
deposit.
asking, hold it. Everybody take a calm, take a break. I'm just asking could we spread it out over a course of time if that would be helpful for those who can't afford that.
Well, it certainly is a policy decision, and it's your decision. The downside to that, obviously, is that the less amount that you collect up front, the more exposure there is in the event that they don't pay their bill. And so
But the more exposure, if they can't afford to pay, and you're going to be turned off, and then you got to charge again for a reconnection fee.
What we could do, if you'd like, is we can do some data analysis to see how much of a problem that really is, because we're not changing any system other than we're making it easier so that they don't have to pay it up front before the electricity is turned on. But right now, what you'd find is if they have to come up with the money and the next bill they can't pay it, then that would be a pretty good indication that that's a problem or not. So we could try to find out if we could crunch those numbers and if there's a problem.
We'd be happy to do that, Councilman. Just to clarify, right now, we're trying to get more in line with our neighboring electric utility provider. And right now, what they do, if you have a moderate, what they would term as a moderate credit score, they'll let you apply those deposits to your first bill. And we're just trying to be in line with that. Currently, right now, FP&L, for lack of better words, if you have bad credit, you have to pay the deposits upfront completely before they'll turn on your service. Currently, the city does that. But right now, if you have moderate credit score, we don't allow you to put that on your bill to pay it at the end of the month. So we're just trying to make it easier for people with challenged credit, like you were saying. But if you're one of those that have really bad credit, really nothing is changing. And we're doing exactly what FP&L is doing at this point.
Or, by the way, the other option is to not adopt this, which is the only reason we did this is we've heard over the years that, people say, why aren't you more like FP&L when it comes to some of their add-ons and startup procedures? So this was a response to that. But if you prefer to keep the current system, that's fine too. It's really a policy decision.
All right. Can I have the mic back now, Mayor?
You have it, sir.
Thank you. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to enhance your policy, to be able to do that. But I'm also asking if there, with the policy decision, if there is a way for us to spread that out over a course of time, 2 months, whatever, to divide it in half. It doesn't have to be 3 months, but just an option. If it's not saying we're advertising the option, but if they ask, well, is there something else that we could do? I don't have it, I won't have that by that certain time. So could we provide just an option, not saying that we're going to be advertising that, but as an option for the department to be able to offer that if that is a question. That's all, trying to give them some leeway to be able to help those who may be challenged with economic conditions.
The answer to your question is yes, that would be a policy decision. One thing I would ask you all to consider is interestingly enough, some of the calls we received when this first came out was, is this increasing some risk to the city by not requiring the money up front? And so the answer to that is yes, we're increasing some risk. We had a belts and suspenders approach, and so we've gone from belts and suspenders to just belts. This changing of spreading out the deposit over time enhances some risk, and that's really just a function of whether you're willing to assume that risk or not, because it's really a policy decision.
All right, so I'm going to ask another question now, and that question is, how many, if in the course of a month or so, how many people actually come and ask you for extensions?
We get those daily.
Daily, right? How many would you say daily?
I'd say we probably get about 5 to 10 calls daily asking for extensions.
Asking for extensions. That's
Yes.
and normal times, what is your process in order to grant that?
We look at the history of the customer account, and based on the history, if they were a good paying customer all along, they
Sure.
ran into some problems, we do the extension. Remember, we do offer an extension in any case.
Right, but I'm
We have that 10 days, and so we will offer an additional extension. For those persons who really having issues, we recommend them to agencies to assist, and that's usually our first line of defense for those customers.
And then those agencies, by the time you send them there, they're already out. They don't have, or they can't come back to them because they've already been there in 6 months or something. So, that's my concern, is that just trying to provide the consumer, those who may be financially challenged or strapped, a way to give them some breathing room, if we can do that in this policy. That's all. It's just a available option to consider, knowing that, they get from 5 to 10 daily asking for extensions on their light bill. So I'm just trying to provide another opportunity to help those who are can't possibly pay the entire bill for the first month. It's a lot. So that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, one more. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
The other question is, going to the telephone app, what is the time frame on that as relates to how long would it take the person to complete the app over the phone?
Over the phone, it should take about 5 to 10 minutes max.
5 to 10 minutes?
Right, and the reason for that is the clerk will take the information, but it'll be passed on to another clerk who will do the actual processing, which means they have to do the background check of the customer, run the credit.
So they do that all over the phone? Right, I can call in and do an application on the phone?
You can do the application over the phone, but we won't do the credit check at that point, because then it'll hold up the call center.
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How does that work with your call center?
So the call center would actually be doing the same thing that the customer who's going online is doing, which is fill out that same portal, the information on the portal, and then pass that on to the clerks who do the actual processing of applications.
And that would be about 5 or 10 minutes. And then when do you do the credit check?
The credit check is done by the applications clerk. So that would happen once the phone clerk passes it on to the applications clerk.
What's the process? What's the time frame?
The time frame for that depends on the workload. And any given day, we try to get all of the applications done in one day. One of the things that has delayed the process is that we have to call the customer back to confirm whether we can charge their credit card for fees. And so with this whole deposit ordinance, it allows us to avoid having to call the customer back a
Mhm.
number of times. And sometimes it's a phone tag. You're calling the customer back, they're not there, they call you back, you're not there.
Right.
And so this eliminates a lot of that back and forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roth?
Yes, thank you. I know that FP&L, when it's required a deposit, they immediately generate a bill for that deposit. Do we have that capability? And that deposit is generally due in 10 days, which would stop part of the process of generating a bill and generating the deposit on the same statement. Is that a possibility? Because when I rent to a tenant that is a customer of FP&L, it's all automated on the phone. If a security deposit is required by FP&L, they're told that that security deposit needs to be paid within 10 days, or else those services will be disconnected. So that kind of alleviates the double billing for the security deposit and then the first month's usage. In the city, if you have city electric, you probably have city water, so your bill is higher than what FP&L's normal bill would be anyway. So that might be a solution to that if we had the capability to instantly generate that deposit bill and have it mailed out and due back in 10 days.
Councilman Roy, we can bill deposits. I'm not sure whether we can bill a deposit and have it generate a bill that will be due in 10 days, but I would check on that and get back with you.
Yeah, because that would kind of solve that problem of the double billing, in my opinion. If you got $358 plus your utility bill of $240, that's and you got to remember, they just moved into a new place, so they probably gave the landlord first in security. So they're happy to hear that they are required a deposit at this point in time with the city of Homestead, so that they can have some time to float their thing. And you talked about the phone calls and the customer service. Is there a reason to pass on a caller after they've gathered some information, and I'm assuming they've gathered up the personal information, social security information, and then pass them on to another customer service agent to finish the transaction? I don't follow that process, because when you do call FP&L, and once you get through their automated portion of the phone call, you speak to one person, and 10 minutes later, your power's turned on. I mean, we're not that quick here in Homestead yet, but that's how efficient they've become. And I'm proud to say that you guys are working towards that, and that one day Barbara may be in her office and turn a switch on, hey, your power's on now. You know, I don't know if we're there yet, but it doesn't make sense that you have to pass the customer from one attendant to the next, unless I'm missing something in the conversation when it comes to responsibilities of each of those callers, or the operators that are answering those calls. Can somebody explain that?
Okay. We're not passing the customer on to the next person. What happens is we're passing the application on to the next person. So when we hang up from the customer, to all intents and purposes, the customer is done, other than the notification or here's what your deposit is going to be. So we're not passing the customer on, we're just passing the application on. So they're getting all of the information, they're confirming with the customer, here's what you're going to be billed for, or here's what's going to happen in terms of whether you're going to be required to pay a deposit or not. And we'll send you a notice in the mail, not in the mail, but in an email format that says, here's the amount of your deposit, and it'll be due at such and such a date.
Okay.
Councilman, I'm sorry, if I can add to that, what Catherine is talking is kind of the current process right now. You know, you have these forms, you have to download them, you have to fill them out, and, you know, either you can call also or mail it in. So what we're looking or moving to do is go to that fully automated service. The customer online goes ahead and types in their information. At that point, it's being taken care of. But of course, there's some customers that, you know, either don't have computers or don't have access to computers. So that's where the phone system will come into play. So hopefully, most of the people start migrating towards the new system, that you could go ahead and do it online, don't have to worry about deposits or anything like that, and hopefully that number that's dealing through the phones with the clerks will actually start dropping down.
Okay, so the people that, in our area that don't have access to the internet or a fax machine, they have only one choice but to use the phone system, the automated system through the phone system.
Yes.
And if there's a deposit required by that applicant, after they've hung up the phone with us, we're calling them back and telling them that there is a deposit required,
Yes.
and you don't have to pay it today, and you'll have to pay it in the future sometime. So,
No, right now you have to pay it today.
some of them
yes.
have to pay at
To
that moment
open
in
your,
time.
yeah. If you don't select auto pay, or unless you have excellent credit, if you have a
okay.
moderate credit level or bad, you have to pay.
Okay, so that changes things a little bit. So the only people that are going to be required for the most part are people with the troubling credit. So if
Correct.
somebody calls in and has excellent credit and there's no deposit required, or there's a minor deposit required. So I guess maybe that changes things, because if they're that bad, they're paying it immediately. And if they have questionable credit and they may have some money somewhere, we're not taking such a risk anymore with the city's security deposits. So with that, I'll reserve and turn it back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shelley?
Yeah, just follow up on the conversation. I mean, I think that my biggest concern is that you are changing things a little bit, because although the amount of deposit is still the same as the timing of the deposit, that's where Councilman Ross' concept of, maybe 10 days after there's a deposit, because if you pay the deposit and then 30 days later you get your bill, then you've had a chance to space that out so you can plan by paycheck or however you're getting paid, versus getting it all at once when you may not have planned accordingly, or maybe not expected your first bill to be so high plus the deposit. Next thing you know, you're in a bind. And that's where I don't really want them to be surprised. So whether it's through an education process, whether it's through splitting up the deposit, or I like Councilman Ross' idea of having the deposit, if it's due immediately, not immediately, but due very quickly after the service is turned on. And that allows that spacing so that you avoid that problem or that financial hardship that they might face 30 days later. It also provides the city a little bit better protection, which also addresses the concern that by making it as efficient as we're trying to go to, it does open us up to some additional exposure. So for those persons that have the worst credit, you would have that 10-day requirement or whatever that window would be, and that protects us on both ends and solves that double billing problem. So I like that concept.
Right, but just to clarify, if you're cash only or your credit is terrible, you are paying the deposit up front before getting services turned on. What this is helping is the one who has moderate credit problems or a moderate credit level or score, which is a lot of people, right? I'm not in the 900s or 800s. I'm 6 something. So at least we can help them out and say, okay, we can get you turned on. And right now what we're looking at is at the end of the 30 days to go ahead and charge you the deposit. And obviously we're going to do an advertisement or notification campaign. Obviously a lot of bells and whistles and horns on the website when you check box saying, hey, just be aware that your deposit's going to be due and how much the amount is. We'll let everybody know. So in terms of that, I think we're kind of covered, but I think this is really going to help out those people with moderate credit scores to at least get through the process quickly, and then it'll help out customer service also.
Yeah, like I said, I support the concept 100%. It's just trying to find that compromise or that thing that kind of solves the problem. And this is a first reading, right? So we see it a second time.
Correct.
So it would be good, I have no problem passing as it exists, but I would like to see if you guys can maybe get me some additional information or maybe some additional options that we can look at or evaluate for the second reading, so that maybe we can get it to where we need it to be as a body if we decide to at that time, or we may keep it as is or go someplace else.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Okay, actually, I'm going to hold my question to the end because it was in regards to maybe a detail in regards to all of this in the process. So is there anyone else that?
Mr. Williams is. Mr. Williams?
Yes. Back to the phone piece. That's, I guess, maybe I need some more clarity on that. Right now, if a person does not have internet, fax, or anything, they can call in, or we don't have that set up yet.
No, we don't have that.
So that's where we're moving to have them call in.
Yes.
The second part of that is the credit piece that says if there is a deposit, then you call them back.
Yes.
So there's a two-part process if the credit, once you all do the analysis on the credit. Why couldn't that not be all one to tell the person this is what your deposit is going to be instead of hanging up with them and then calling them back? That's what I have a problem with. Yes.
Don't touch it.
We're obviously going to work on that process and design it and tweak it so it's nice and smooth and it doesn't involve multiple people. So we're still in the design phase with regard to that. So hopefully that will alleviate your fears, and I'll be more than happy to sit down with you later and talk about it, what we're thinking of doing, just to clarify, because definitely we don't want to go through multiple steps, right, to complicate the thing. Basically, we're looking to streamline the whole process, so make it an enjoyable experience for the customer, as well as helping out the customer service staff to be more efficient.
That would frustrate me if I have to, I'll give you my application and then you got to call me back to tell me if I've got a deposit.
And currently, that's what happens. People fill out a physical piece of paper, they fax it in, there's something missing, so they'll get a call from customer service. You know, they'll miss the call, or they'll say, oh, okay, I just emailed you the information. Part of the information is missing. So there's this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth that we're trying to avoid. So this is our first step, you know, to eliminate this deposit part.
So by next reading, you can have some answers for me to eliminate my fears in the smoothness of the process as regards to that.
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to put something together for council to look at.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me ask one question. What's the bad debt write-off in a year for the city as far as electric utility is concerned? How many people purchase power but don't pay for it? Can anybody?
Right now, the active delinquency amount is about $4 million for the city. And that's active customers who have delinquent accounts. Of course, there's those who've been closed out, and which is a whole lot higher.
And Mayor, just to put some context, that historically, when I first got here, the amount of unpaid debt in the utility was, I don't know, Jerry, what was it, 20 million, 10
I
million?
could tell you in 2010, I'm thinking of 6 million. So we've reduced it about $2 million.
Yeah, and so the issue becomes whatever policies you adopt to eliminate some of the safeguards that you have in place, as we learned 6 years ago when there was some decisions made to not cut people off and to do other things to address certain concerns. It's just a financial issue, and you'll see the impact over time financially. And that's, again, it's just a decision as long as you're aware of the pros and cons of doing something like that.
I guess that's the point, because I think that, I think what we need to do is make it easier for people to do business with us. But I do also think that, if as a business, it needs to collect for what it sells, So, yes, we need to do everything we can to make the transition from not having an account to having an account, but yes, still keep those protections in so that, this constant flow of uncollected utility fees is at least held at check, because $4 million is a lot of money. It's, in essence, it's kind of what we transferred out this year to, keep the city afloat. So just as we debate this, I think that's, a point that we need to discuss as well. Mr. Roth.
Yes, I know that there are some safeguards built into it, because I am in real estate, and there are times we get to the closing table, and then all of a sudden, the previous tenant before that, the previous tenant before that,
and that's
never paid their final bill. And then the owner is left, or the seller of that property is left to pay that. So they don't just disappear. It's more of a collection issue that we have on the final bill for people who are renting properties. So I would be curious to know how many times that happens, and are we reporting those people to credit bureaus so that we could maybe collect that money faster. When they see it's on their credit report as a bad debt, they tend to want to make those payments sooner rather than waiting for a previous owner who doesn't realize that their previous tenants hadn't paid that bill, and at the closing table, they got to come up with $500 or $1,000 that they didn't, expect to do. So I'd be curious to, one, find out what is the outstanding balance of final bills, which is why we have security deposits to protect us against non-payment of the final bill, and to get a number of what the current customers' outstanding liability that are over 30 days past due. Because this does weigh back into a budget concern where if we're floating $4, $5, $6, $10 million out there in uncollected revenues from utilities, I think we need to step up our practice of trying to collect this money to help the city. I mean, we gave them the services, and we should get at least the payment on the final bill as well. So I'm good with the security deposit aspect of it. I have a problem with the final bills not being paid by some of the customers that we've had. So with that, thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mayor, last time on this, Mr. Ruff, but they only give security deposits if the credit is good. If the credit is good, they don't have to pay a security deposit, am I right?
Yes,
So even if they have a downtrodden, lose their job, and they escape to go somewhere else, didn't really necessarily determine that because they didn't have because of their credit, that didn't mean that it doesn't go down or they don't have some kind of tragedy, and that those bills still not paid. My understanding is some of this, the debt is, how much of this is a large of the commercial aspect of the $4 million, or whatever the cost of it is?
I can't give you that right now off the top, unless Catherine
We didn't
is.
look at the separation between
When
commercial and residential.
when the time you're talking about, Jerry, I remember the hospital holding a lot of that because they were not paying their bill on
That was recovered, Mr. Williams.
But that's what, I mean, that was a higher part, so I don't know how they're, how they're paying now. But, I mean, it was a few $1 million from the hospital, Homestead Hospital. So, my only concern is going forward, because I think we voiced as many concerns as we can voice, is that, and hopefully you all will take that back and somehow bring back some kind of resolution to my questions within the body of the ordinance. And with that, Mayor, I move the item.
Moved and seconded. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone would like to speak, ask questions about this particular ordinance? This is first reading. Yes, sir. And then Mr. Malnado, I'll get you.
Hi, my name's Matthew Oakey. I'm in Homestead here. This has got to be the first time I agree with Mr. Williams. But I've heard several people say about FPNL not charging, or not scheduling. And I was on FPNL and they did schedule me 3 months. They split it up.
Oh, they schedule, I don't know if they split it or not. That,
And as a scheduling issue, you could always, it's up to the city's decision, but you could say if your deposit turns out being more than a certain dollar amount, you get 2 months. If it's more than another dollar amount, you can make it 3 months in that sense. But the question I would have that he's probably interested in, all this money for deposit, does it ever get returned to the people?
Jerry?
yes, the deposits are returned. Once the customer closes their account and there's no monies due, they are issued a check.
So if they're there for 6 years?
Yes.
The deposit stays there for 6 years?
Catherine, no, we return at a certain point. But if they still have a deposit when they leave and terminate their account, that it does get returned.
So the whole time you guys are holding the deposit, is it in an escrow, interest-bearing account, or non-interest-bearing account?
Jerry, things have to go through the chair, so please.
Mr. Manager, I know we have a policy of returning, deposits. I don't know the time frame. So at this particular point, the question is, how long does the city hold the money? Is it in an escrow? Is it in a?
Yeah, I'm just curious if you're going to hold it forever, basically, is it in an interest-bearing account? If so, at the end of 1 year, what's the cumulative interest you've earned on all those deposits for everybody that have a deposit? That has to be subtracted from the amount of the 4 million that hasn't been paid at the end of the year. So you're not 4 million in the hole, you're 4 million minus the interest. Now, if it's not being interest bearing, that's a different story, of course. But I know FP&L, I only had to have my deposit for 12 months or 13 months, and it was returned to me in my bill with interest. I got my deposit back with interest from FP&L.
Catherine?
Okay, we do return deposits after 24 months of good paying history, along with the interest on the account. When an account is final as well, any deposit plus interest is applied against the customer's balance, and anything that's remaining is refunded to the customer.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council, and
Do
Manager.
me one favor. Pull that microphone down just pull it down to you.
Put it down.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us speak this evening. My name is Dr. Rosemary Brackett, PhD in nursing. This is my son, Anthony Brackett, who's autistic. First of all, I know we have some fine, very fine police officers in Homestead, but we complained in February. Sorry.
Let me say, this is a different issue. This is on the electric utility question.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you. Are you talking about tab 16, or are you just coming up for public comments?
Well,
Yeah, but this is a specific agenda item on a utility issue and a customer service issue. Is that what you want to talk about?
yeah.
You
What
talk.
about the police abuse that Anthony and I suffered?
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to wait on that because that's a different issue. If you could let us get through this, then I'll open up the public comments for the just general comments from the community. Okay.
Okay.
This is another item.
All right.
Okay. Give us one more minute. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments from the public on tab 16? Close the public hearing, Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. In regards to this new system, do we have, maybe you could chime in on, do we have a service where we're emailing or contacting the customer back before there's a cutoff on the power?
No, we don't email or call the customer unless they're a medically essential customer. The bill basically tells you the due date and it tells you in red the delinquency date and the delinquency amount. And that's the notification that the customers will get from us.
Okay. And maybe I asked Jerry this question, both of you the question, is that something, I know FPL does it. You know, we're talking about being, you know, at least trying to be to a certain standard. But sometimes when I was living in another section of Homestead, had FPL, you know, we would get warnings through your system, my phone actually. Is there, maybe at some point we're going to try to work on that? I know we have it on paper and it's on red and things like that, but you know, maybe someone didn't get the mail or something like that. And it's just to avoid it for someone or their residents to come home and not have their power cut off. Maybe they forgot that it was there, but kind of is there some type of system you might be working on in the future in regards to that?
That's definitely one of the options we're looking at in terms of notifying the customers any way we can, whether text, email, to go ahead that, you know, you haven't paid your bill and, you know, sooner or later you're going to get terminated or cut off. So that definitely we're looking into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion on tab 16? We already did that? I'm sorry, you're right. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Yes. Councilman Shelley? Yes. Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 17.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing review of an unsolicited proposal for construction of a public parking garage and ancillary improvements, authorizing the city manager to implement the procedures of Section 255-065 of the Florida statutes, applicable to unsolicited proposals, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a brief presentation. Danielle, if you want to hit the lights just a little bit so people can see. There's a little detail on the screen, so we want everybody to see. As you'll recall, we were here back in February to talk about the downtown project, Phase 2 of the downtown revitalization plan that involved the site of the former police station. We had an operator who came here and said he was willing to operate a movie theater entertainment complex. We had several challenges that you kind of tasked us with that we went off for the last 7 months to try to accomplish. One was to try to find $40 million for a parking garage project without impacting the property taxes. The second thing was to try to figure out how to finance a movie theater project. And the third was how to move forward on the bus rapid transit and/or light rail project in partnership with the county. So with that, okay, the machine is not working, so we'll go with this. Okay, so this is the canvas that we've been working on for our Phase 2 of the downtown revitalization plan. As you can see in red, the busway and the site of the former police station. And basically, what we have here is one project, but really three very complex components. And I'm going to go through each one of them, and they all kind of work in conjunction with each other. One is a parking garage with retail liner. Second is rapid transit system. And third is movie theater, entertainment, bowling complex. And so this is our site. And as you can see there, the big corner is Maori and Chrome. And you can see also, I'm going to just drive you around the perimeter of the property so we can see exactly where we're looking at. So this here is the corner of Chrome and Maori, and we go down first, and all the properties to the left and right, and we keep going down all these properties here, then we go on First again, and there are those properties, and then back on Maori, and all those properties down to the corner. So it's a very large parcel, and in essence, what we're looking for in component one is a minimum of 1,000 parking spaces. This has been determined based on the amount of, we've done a variety of research on this to figure out what our downtown parking needs, and also in considering a bus rapid transit or bus system intermodal facility. Also, the needs of the Seminole Theater, needs of the new retail, and some of the other retailers in the downtown, plus some of the other projects that we have coming forward. The funding sources, and we talked to you last time, we kind of had a general ballpark of $40 million we knew we'd need for the garage project. It was a big task to try to find this and find it in a way that didn't impact property taxes. And so right now, we have identified roughly $40 million from funding sources that include county and federal transportation funds, county economic development grant that we actually got approval for from the Board of County Commissioners. And we also, and that represents about $40 million. And we also came to you recently and asked you to hire a consultant to look at new market tax credits. And we think we have a reasonable shot at some more money from this pot of funds that are approved by the federal government. They are expecting by the end of this month to have a better sense of the appropriation in Washington, D.C. And then from there, there's a process that goes forward. And we should know by the end of October, early November, whether these funds will be available to us. And what we're hoping is, assuming they are available, that'll help us with either finalizing some of our property acquisitions and or adding another level to the garage or kind of fancying the facade of the garage. So those are our funding sources. That's component one. Component two is the rapid transit system. Now this is something that you've all been working on, and since our discussion in February, many of you have gotten really involved with gathering the other South Dade cities, get them on board to the concept of moving this thing forward, because as you know, in Miami-Dade County, people have been talking about transit for decades, and many of you have been working with the League of Cities and other groups with elected officials. And so the first phase of this for us has been getting everybody on board with the concept of we need rapid transit, mass transit from here to the employment centers in downtown Miami are essential to the future growth of the city and the downtown, and also to the quality of life for people who have jobs. Sometimes it takes them an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning or coming home, and with rapid transit, that is a real game changer in terms of quality of life and also people who might want to come here, property values. And so the first piece to this, which is relevant, is at the last meeting you approved $50,400 as part of a partnership with the county for a study that's $1.2 million. And this is generally the process that you have to go through from the time you decide, oh yeah, we'd really like to have a rapid transit system, to the time you're actually riding the facility. And so first it's identify the needs. Second, it's project development and environmental study. That's what you contributed toward. That's what happens next month, is that study begins. What this is a group of experts get together and they meet with the stakeholders, elected officials and other potential users, and try to figure out, okay, what kind of system is it that you want? And they examine a whole bunch of options. Now, one option is do nothing, and hearing from all the cities in our area, I haven't heard one city say do nothing option is acceptable. There has been extensive debate on the question of bus rapid transit versus light rail versus other things, which I'll get to in a minute. Once the study is over, those studies typically take 1 year, year and a half. From there, the decision is made, what option are they going to go with? And from there, they go to design, and then from there, they go to construction. So we're right now at the PD&E study phase. And I bring this to everybody's attention because I think everybody's going to need to weigh in here, because as you see on the screen, you have two vehicles that look virtually identical. The big difference is bus rapid transit has wheels and light rail works on a rail system. Now, here's the thing about these vehicles that people like. One is the doors swing open from the sides, easy in, easy out. Also, it's on a raised platform, so it's easier to get on and it's a better experience. And most importantly, once you get on this vehicle, unlike the current bus system, which stops at every intersection, the lights, they don't have the right-of-way, these vehicles will breeze right through all of the intersections. They will have the right-of-way in every intersection. So the experts tell us that between this potentially can reduce commute times between 20 and 40%. And so that's a huge difference for somebody who's driving down to Miami for their job at 8 in the morning. So bus rapid transit, light rail. The cities have been somewhat united on the idea that the end result is everybody wants light rail over BRT. The point we've made, which the other cities seem to be in agreement, is light rail takes longer and is more expensive. And as they start finalizing the funding sources, BRT, and we're told as a transitional point, BRT is very easy to start with, can be up and running within 3 years, and is much less expensive than light rail, and for the most part, they both do the same things. Then at that point, if they get the necessary funding to go ahead and transition to light rail, that's fine. So BRT, if we want something up and running within 3 years or so, more realistic concept. There are some that say that through the P3 process, light rail is also achievable in 3 years, and that's something that will also be discussed during this PD&E study. I throw this up just because it's a graphics, oh, the train is here, let's hurry. But I put this up just to make everybody aware of this concept of hurry. It's time. It's time to hurry. And so whatever opportunity you have to scream in the ears of other elected officials that have say in here, it's time to finish this up. And they've been talking about transit for a long, long time. And for a city like Homestead, this is a real game changer. Component number 3, movie theater, bowling, family entertainment. February, Showbiz Entertainment was here. They talked to you about what they wanted to do. And in essence, what they offered was They're willing to operate an entertainment complex, and I'll show you a little bit about what they're proposing to build. And they basically said if the city will finance roughly $16 million, they'll move in, they'll operate it, and they'll pay down that debt with their lease payments and the property tax that's generated from the site. And then the city would convey the land to them at the conclusion of their lease payments. That was what we had in February, and you sent us off on our way to look. But this is, in essence, what their facilities look like and the company and what they're all about.
A destination that embraces growth, guided by experience and solid leadership that is defining how we are and how we will be entertained. This is a next-generation destination for entertainment. This is Showbiz Cinemas. In 2007, third-generation theater owner Kevin Mitchell opened the doors of Showbiz Cinemas. The Showbiz brand of entertainment has been greatly embraced by the communities it serves, and with a management team combining for over 100 years of industry experience, some of the best minds in the business are actively innovating how you will be entertained in the years to come. Because of this, Showbiz has not only flourished in the state of Texas, but now has its sights set on 2 to 3 new locations throughout the country annually. Showbiz Cinemas has been out in front of the cinema business, essentially doubling the industry's 2015 attendance increase of 7% with over 13% growth. And at our box office, the average increase of 17% dwarfs the industry average at 6% when reviewing same-theater ticket sales. A blockbuster 2015 brought in record-high numbers for Showbiz Cinemas, furthering its history of strong growth over the years. Our industry-leading performance truly shows when comparing Showbiz Cinemas' per-screen average with that of our competitors. In fact, when surveyed, 65% of our customers were visiting Showbiz Cinemas from outside the cities they serve, even passing by other movie theaters to enjoy the Showbiz experience. At the center of Showbiz Cinema's popularity is its premium experience, taking great feature films and surrounding them with a comfortable atmosphere that includes a wide selection of premium food and beverage options. Now going to the movies is transformed to a great night out that includes specialty cocktails and unique dining menus. And when it's showtime, Showbiz Cinemas elevates the movie viewing experience with innovative technologies that enhance every aspect of the film. This includes our SDX auditoriums, boasting 70-foot wall-to-wall, ceiling-to-floor screens, immersive Dolby Atmos sound, alongside a Barco 4K digital projection system, and oversized custom-made leather chairs. Showbiz Cinemas has created a movie-going experience that is superior to any home theater, making sure that the edge of our seat is so much more comfortable, exciting, and impressive than the edge of your couch. Showbiz Cinemas also invests in creating community around our patrons by rewarding local guests and partners with programs and giveaways through social media, as well as stepping out into the neighborhoods we serve and participating in events, including efforts to support local police and fire departments, as well as outreach to local schools. Showbiz is also reaching out to more than movie lovers. This next-generation destination for entertainment is attracting new customers every day with state-of-the-art fun at our boutique bowling spaces, lavish sight and sound in our premium upscale full bars, social gaming at a new level in our cutting-edge arcades, and the opportunity to create memorable occasions with clean and affordable event rooms that combine endless entertainment for your corporate gathering, family fun, or a special event. Vision, expertise, a superior entertainment experience, development friendly with a reasonable footprint. Welcome to the next generation destination for entertainment. Welcome to Showbiz Cinemas.
So in February, you sent us on our way to try to find what they call non-recourse financing, find a way to get the loan or the money for the construction of this facility so that Showbiz can operate it. And we've been looking for that, and we found it. We found one equity firm that was willing to lend us the money at a 12% interest rate. So as we did our pro forma, it was substantially more expensive than we had hoped, in excess of $20 million contribution from the city in order to pay down that debt, in addition to the lease payments from Showbiz. So we started looking for other funding opportunities as well, and we looked to partnerships that would involve packaging the garage, the street-level retail, the retail liner, and the movie theater complex. And so one vehicle to achieve this is a state statute called Public-Private Partnerships, which has been created as a competitive process to package certain business arrangements that make it easier to get through and quickly, but also in a competitive manner. And so, as you all know, because many of you have traveled with us, Homestead had our traveling sales team, and we've been all over trying to find private interest in developing and investing in the downtown. And we have received one proposal. We've met with several companies, several local companies as well, and numerous meetings, and we know that there's at least one other that expects to submit a proposal within this window of opportunity that we have suggested to you. But what we have here is our first proposal, which is Axiom. Axiom Construction, and the president of the company, the owner of the company, is here sitting in the audience. Does he want to wave? Richard, you want to just wave your hand? There he is, right there. And Showbiz is here too. Chris, there he is too. And so Axiom has proposed that they design, build, permit, finish a 1,000 space garage, retail liner, plus or minus 40,000 square feet, public plaza, theater plaza, plus or minus 65,000 square feet, including the build-out, which would be operated by Showbiz Cinemas. The city would own, and Axiom would maintain and operate the garage and retail components for the first 15 years. The city will make available all necessary lands for the development and provide $33.3 million in funding, subject to applicable restrictions. And the Axiom will be responsible for any development costs in excess of $33 million. So with the P3 process, which we'll get to, the idea is they will be our partner, a development partner, and we're in this thing together for a long time, both in terms of building the facility. We would own the garage, they would maintain it for a while, and then later on, if we wanted to continue with the arrangement, if we find it's working for us, then there's an opportunity for us to extend that, or if we prefer to run it ourselves, then that would be our option as well, because we would own that as well. What this does for us in terms of the original idea was it frees us from the responsibility of having to be landlords and looking for retailers and maintaining the garage and some of the financial risk, because with these leases and garage, there's risks and there's rewards. So it frees us up of that. The site, which is what we've been talking about, this is how they're proposing it would be laid out. It's a preliminary site plan, which would mean plaza on a small plaza on the Maori and Chrome side. That would be the connector to the transit stop. And I failed to mention on the transit component, because we don't know whether we're having bus rapid transit, whether we're having light rail, how the county ultimately will configure the transit system. Most everyone feels that it's likely to be center stations, where the station is going to be in between the two lanes. And so while we have placed this on the map as a transit stop right there next to the end of the busway, this could end up changing as the P&D study comes back with the alternatives, and we decide exactly what we're getting, and say ultimately that's going to be a decision everybody's going to have to make together. So you have the transit stop, you have the facility. Right now they're suggesting 70,000 square feet. Basically, we have seen their latest prototype, and it's big and it's beautiful and it's got all the things that you would want. And then the parking garage, as I mentioned, 1,000 spaces. However, if we can find more funding, we think it'd be prudent to have a little more if we can arrange it. Here's kind of how it looks. If you put the blocks together, you can see the retail will line the garage both on the Chrome side and the Maori side, and then the theater will be south of that. And from here, you only would, right now you're only looking at a rendering that has half the plaza. So if you can imagine pushing that theater back and extending the plaza all the way across, that's a general sense of where they're headed in their proposal. That's Axiom, of course. Now the P3 process, we have now somebody that has submitted a proposal. The law requires that we publish a notice and that we've received a proposal and that we'll accept other proposals for the same project. The law requires a 21-day minimum to accept those proposals. All the proposals are then evaluated and they're ranked. There's an agreement that is negotiated with the highest ranked proposer, and then it's brought back to the council. The council can accept or reject that proposal, or they can say, we want somebody else, and then we can negotiate with that firm. If our negotiations break down with the first ranked proposer, we can negotiate with the second, assuming we have one. And by the way, I put this up on the screen. I have no guarantee that we're going to have a second proposer. I think we will. We may have more than one. But I just wanted to put this up there because this is what the law requires if you want to move forward with this to start the process. And one thing we've heard both from Axiom and from Showbiz is they're ready to go. They want to get going as soon as possible. And one thing I've learned from the Lehman Brothers crash days is that you never know when that window for financing closes. And so when you have somebody that's willing to put their money where their mouth is, the sooner you can move through the process and get something done, the better. That's P3. And I wondered if I think I got everything, right, Stephen? Yeah. Okay, so with that, I'd be happy to take questions.
Mr. Williams? No, sir. Any other any questions from council? You did a good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Burgess?
So if nobody else comes back to us in the 21-day deal, then we can start immediately, or the P3 companies can start immediately upon the 21-day timeframe is up?
Once the process closes, then if there's only one proposer, Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, then we just have one ranked proposer, and then we immediately begin negotiations, finalize that, and bring it back to you. By then, hopefully, we'll also have some answers on the new market tax credits, and we can get a sense, can we squeeze an additional level or two out of the garage?
Thank you. No, I just want to say, I went out and looked at their newest facility in a quick turnaround trip, and I was very impressed for the residents that aren't sure about this. It was state-of-the-art. It's got their brand of IMAX, which was phenomenal. It was clean, friendly, a lot of people around it, milling around, and even in the middle of the day, beginning of the day. Family-oriented, and I think it's exactly what we need downtown. So I hope we can get this moving forward. For those that weren't there, all I can say is I don't think you would be disappointed. I think you'd be very impressed with what is out there and the product that they're planning on bringing to us. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gretzis. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roth?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I just want to say, George, congratulations to your staff for all the hard work that you guys have done.
Hold on. This thing's not, there it goes. There it is.
I was on. Was I?
No, it wasn't.
No?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. I'm losing my voice here, though. But congratulations to you and your staff. I know you guys have bent over backwards and done so many different things, and trips out to Texas and trips out to Las Vegas and trips to Orlando and all those things. And thank you for that and continuing this effort that was set up before I got here and will continue while I'm here and into the future. And I do want to say one thing to the Showbiz people and to Axiom. Thank you for having faith in Homestead. Thank you for wanting to invest in us. And we are going to work our tails off so that this project gets put forward, as long as you guys are the ones that are selected. But I can't be more proud of you guys and your organization and what you guys stand for in selecting Homestead as one of your new sites in the southeast of Florida. And I appreciate that, and I hope we do get to work together in the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
George, if you go back to a few numbers you viewed over, I just want to bring that back for a moment. I think it was your,
Which
I think it was your third slide.
The third slide at the beginning?
Yes. I'm sorry, yeah, keep going.
One,
No, it had the numbers on it.
2, 3.
Yeah. So the estimated budget on this is gonna be about 40 million, right?
Right. In essence, we have estimated somewhere between $6 and $7 million for property acquisition. Most of the properties for the site have either been acquired or optioned. We're still negotiating with one, and we may have an eminent domain on the other.
How
So
many properties do we have left?
we have basically the Napa site, where it's shown on the Napa site, and then the triangle piece there by the busway. So
Okay.
that's one owner there. And so that is where the $6 to $7 million range comes in, and give or take, depending on how we conclude those negotiations. And then, so that, once you take that out, then we have the 33.3 million that would go into the construction.
Dealing with the funding source, you said county federal transportation fund, county economic development grant, and the new market tax credits. For the new market tax credit, you have that kind of idea by November of whether we can. Do they require in these grants of sources in dealing with our small businesses to help build this building? How do you all work that out with?
Basically,
with basically, because I know for county dollars, you know, they try to, for minority firms and small businesses, do we have to, will we have to apply, with those terms apply to us, and we getting some of these monies, that we have to diversify the market of who's building and subcontractors and all of that?
The short answer
Would
is
that come back to us?
The short answer is we think yes. What we've had is a team of people looking at each one of these funding sources and kind of doing a full 360-degree look at it to figure out not just what kind of strings are attached to it, but how do we monitor this to make sure that we don't run afoul of anything? How do we make sure we negotiate through this process without slowing us down or interfering, and right now, we haven't identified anything that looks like it adds any a weird cost to the project, but it does require, and we may be coming back to you with a consultant, to hire a consultant specifically on the federal transportation funds, just to help keep us out of trouble, sort of like for the HUD monies, where we have, before we allot any funds, we make sure that we're following all the regulations properly. But right now, it's looking, and it's not just in terms of some of the programs that you were talking about, but it's also where can certain buildings sit, how does the revenue work. It's a whole complicated thing, but we think we have a pretty good handle on it, and right now it doesn't look like it's going to get in our way.
So how much, I think I heard you say that it would probably cost, maybe would it 15 million or 16 million? 16? Or 15 from the city's portion after all of these grants and funding?
No,
or
our
is that
funding,
with inclusive of that?
Our funding will go towards the garage, the retail liner, and the property acquisitions, and the developer is responsible for constructing the entertainment complex and having a lease with an operator. And the operator agreement right now, they're working with Showbiz, so it's really three entities. It's the city and the developer, in this case Axiom, or whoever ultimately wins this award, and then from there, we'd want an agreement that they have a solid lease with an operator, and in this case, it's Showbiz. Another proposer may bring somebody else in, we don't know, but the idea is that they're responsible for that portion.
What's the length of the lease agreement?
Well, it'd be we know what they proposed to us when we came back here in February, which was a 20-year lease, but it also gave them an ability to pay off early. And then, because the appeal for them is also to be able to have ownership rights in the property, ultimately for their expansion purposes. But the specific deal that they have with Axiom right now, we think we have a general idea of what it is. I'm not sure whether I can disclose that to you or not, but it's a long-term lease. And it's a similar arrangement to what they proposed in February.
Okay. I think that's it, Mayor. So, yeah, I think that's it. What I'm asking, so George, would you come back to me then, whenever you all do that 360 piece, to determine, because I'm interested in the build-out aspect as, job related to our, our economy here in Homestead and what that looks like for subcontractors and all of that moving forward. So that part of it, you will bring back to us, or how would that work? How do we put measures in place to ensure that persons get a bite at the apple here to make this realization happen?
Once we have the inventory of the restrictions, we will disclose those, and hopefully that'll be sufficient for all of you, and also hopefully none of that gets in anybody's way. What we think is, based on the subs that we're using in some of the other projects, we don't see any of this is going to be an issue, but I don't want to commit to that right now until all the experts weigh in and give us a clear direction on these items.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Manager, I've been one of those folks that have been on board with you from day one and traveling to all these different locations. I've been able to see the process and progress of this project, and to see where we're at today. It's very rewarding, and so congratulations on where we are today. I'll pat myself on the back too, because it's a lot of work that we've done, so congratulations. Now, because I was at those meetings, I did have a company that reached out to me just this week in regards to this. Who do I present them to? Because they wanted a package. Like, if you recall in the meetings and we had in the past, everyone always wanted a package, but because it's a P3, we really didn't have a package. We just told them what we wanted, and they were going to propose a plan of how they wanted to be a part of this. And so, who would be their contact person? Should I direct them to you?
If you provide us with the information, we'll forward to them what we plan to send out to everybody, which is a solicitation and an invitation to submit proposals.
Will those folks that we met with on these past meetings, will they also get that solicitation?
They will all, and also, once the agenda went out, the ones that I've been meeting with personally, I emailed everybody to let them know about what was going on. I emailed them the agenda item. I wanted to make sure that everybody was treated with fairness and they understood where we're headed. And I will thank you and the rest of the council. Each one of you in your own way have really helped in selling the city. And, when we first started, sitting there on the floor of the shopping center conference, nobody really wanted us. But one person, Kevin Mitchell, walked over to our booth and said, I'm interested in building in Homestead. And so had we not been at that conference, we may never have met Showbiz, and we may have kickstart this progress. So for all of you, and each of you have done things in your own way. You've gone to Orlando, or you've gone to the shopping center conference. Councilman Burgess, in less than 24 hours, flew to Texas and flew back just to meet the folks at Showbiz and to promote our city. And I can't tell you how meaningful it is to people who, staff is one thing, but when the elected officials say, we have, our top priority is economic development, and we're united and unanimous in what we've been doing. And each one of these votes that you have been doing, when we're telling people it's been unanimous and we promise something and we deliver something. So we promised this building and we delivered what we promised, and the theater is up and running now, the Seminole, and that is exceeding expectations in terms of community usage. And the police station, as we haven't, so far, knock on wood, we haven't had a glitch. We're right on schedule, and we invite you all, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, the progress has been tremendous. And at the latest, looks like we'll be in there by February. So phase one, as we talked about a few years ago, practically completely done. And if we can get through this process over the next month or two, we could be well on our way with phase two. And tomorrow we have a big meeting with the library consultants and a company that runs libraries to kind of finalize some of the for concepts for the library project. So we're really moving quickly, and what's been the glue here is the mayor and council really supporting and pushing and promoting, and we
Excellent.
appreciate that.
And again, I'd like to congratulate your staff. I have to share with everyone that I sat in a lot of those meetings, especially the last one in Orlando, and transparency was key and the first thing. And anyone who wanted to approach us and how they wanted to deal with us, and we want this project, and what do we have to do, and let's talk about it. Staff was transparent in their process, and so congratulations on your staff and the level of professionalism that was shown at those meetings. It was obviously, folks knew that we meant business in the way you guys conducted your business, so congratulations on that. In regards to showbiz, I'm very excited that this is, it's happening, and I'm a big movie buff. I have to unfortunately travel to get my movie experience, and so I attended the movie theater back in January and saw and had the experience, and it was phenomenal. From someone who actually looks up speakers and systems and audio and video for movie theaters, I could tell you that this is top of the line, and so I'm very excited when this happens. I will be there every week pretty much. All right, that's it.
Appreciate it very much.
No
And
problem.
by the way, one other thank you for your prayers too, because when we started this, we had no idea we were going to get $40 million from, and somehow we were able to find it. The money kind of came out of the sky, and we have a lot of faith in the ideas here and what the vision is here, and for the support that we've been getting.
Excellent. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just kind of echo, I mean, this has taken a lot of work to get where we are, and we still have a long ways to go and a lot more progress to be made, but I think it's a testament to the leadership of the city staff, the city manager, and the council as a body, that we've been able to get where we have, today, and to see that this great potential project is sitting there, that they're willing to invest in our community and come to our community and be part of our community, I think is very exciting. And so I think for my purposes, the sooner we can move this process along, the better it's going to be, because we have worked so hard to get here, and I'd hate to see it, slip away because we delay for some reason and unforeseen circumstances arise. But as I understand it, what you're asking for us today is really more or less to initiate this P3 process under the Florida statutes. The terms of the actual deal with whatever bidder it might be, in this case we have Axiom here and Showbiz, those details can be further discussed when we get through the end of the P3 process. But for purposes of today, it's really giving you what direction to say that, in my case, it's at least 21 days, so I say 21 days is where we go with it so we can get this process to run its course, allow time for others to participate in the process, but make sure that we don't lose out on an opportunity that's sitting in front of us right now. Is there any other additional direction you're asking for? Or
That's it right now, because obviously you all reserve your rights till we come back with a negotiated agreement, and so that'll be the big vote. Right now, this is just to trigger the process and let everybody know there's a window to come in and submit additional proposals.
Okay, and so I support the minimum time frame of 21 days, just because, again, I think we have a great partner sitting here in front of us and great potential, and I don't want to see them slip away, and I want to see this process come to fruition, all the hard work that we put into it. So that would be my recommendation in order to get the P3 out of the way.
That's your motion.
That's a motion, yes.
And Mayor, one other thing I'd like to add, because it needs to be said, Richard Weiss has also flown to Texas with us, and he doesn't normally do that kind of a travel for city projects, but he's done that for us, and we've had teams of lawyers working on this, and it's really been amazing, the kind of creativity that we've needed to make all this thing happen. So we're working, and we'll continue to work, but Richard, thank you also for your dedication to this as well.
Anything else, Mr. Shelley?
That's all.
Thank you for the motion. Mr. Burgess.
No, I'll second Mr. Shelley's motion. I also agree that the sooner we get things in play and get them moving down the road and down the pipeline, the city is much better off. So, thank you.
Agreed totally. And I echo everything that everybody said. And if you look back at, one of the things that I think that's kind of separated, Homestead from some of the other municipalities that have tried to do big projects like this, they lose focus midway. And one of the things that I think is so significant about this council and this staff and this attorney's office is we've stayed laser focused on this project and doing our day-to-day business and managing and running the day-to-day operations, still staying laser focused on the big prize, the goal, which has been a movie theater downtown. And so everyone that's had a hand, and I know the council's all played their role, and all of your staff and your economic development crew. And Richard, I have to agree that, your presence at most of these meetings it's substantially important for us to get these deals, these big deals, these big complicated deals done. So thanks to you and your team for participating in Axiom. Showbiz, I mean, it's first class team here. Hopefully, we can pull this off quickly. I agree with the motion. So this is a public hearing. I'm going to open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone would like to speak on this issue of moving forward with this P3 to get a movie theater downtown? Yes, sir.
As I can say, I'm all for it regarding the transportation initiatives. Regarding this kind of project, though, I do have one question when it comes to either Axiom or Showbiz or whomever else is accepted in a bid. This is not going to be a multi kind of development where it's like we bring in retailers and kind of thing. We're not going to make it into a Sunset Place type of thing, because we already seen how Sunset Place can't keep a retailer in for a while, a big box retailer or whatnot. I just don't want it to turn into a economic boondoggle.
It is going to have retail component at the lower floor, but Mr. Manager?
Yeah, the concept here is the movie theater component is between 65 and 70,000 square feet. So that's a big space. But the purpose for the retail liner is a parking garage is a big structure.
Of course.
And so what you want to do is, because we're in a historic district, what you want to do is try to hide the garage as best as possible, also to energize the street as much as possible, and also connect between the rest of the downtown. So a main street, traditional main street, is you walk down the street, there's a store, there's a store, there's a store. What we don't want is a big parking garage and then a big box with nothing, no retail, and then a bare space. So the idea is to extend the historic downtown, to create that kind of street life, but not some sort of internal mall, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, okay, understood. And also, but when it comes to that also, those streets are pretty narrow, if I do say so myself. Going through there, that's already been taken care of in the studies regarding this?
We have studies. There'll be some road improvements that are necessary, as is the case with most downtown development projects.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? More than welcome to come. Good evening. Just give us your name and
Good
address.
evening. My name is Blanca Holguin, 30805 Southwest 214 Avenue. My concern is about, on Cross US 1, there was a bowling alley that closed down. Flagler Flagship Cinema is also not doing that well. What makes you think that a movie theater and a bowling alley is going to do good here again? This area is also very populated, very cluttered. Also, you're putting a police station across. A lot of people don't like to party around police officers. So if you want revenue, I don't believe that that's the best location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, I would like to respond to that, by the way, so since we have the graphics here. In essence, just so we know, the first couple of things is the way we've created this downtown, the police station, which we went to the voters and said, do you want to do this building and as part of the central downtown? Because most people like to have police departments around. They like police. And so what happens is when they see more police, they like it. Most people, anyway. And so what happens is you have the police department, you have a beautiful park, you have the Seminole Theater, and you have this movie theater and retail complex. We'll have a library. It's all part of what a downtown Main Street should look like, with civic buildings and entertainment and culture and shopping and restaurants and those kind of things. And in terms of the market studies, this whole thing, the first idea we had of, geez, can we have sufficient business for a movie theater, that came through a study that we did where they basically look at where do people spend their money? Where do people who live in Homestead spend their money? And where do people who spend their money in Homestead, where are they coming from? And through that data, through credit card data, they found that a lot of people who live in Homestead are actually leaving the city to go to movies someplace else. And so other cities are benefiting from that economic activity. And also, we know on the bowling side is an additional amenity because what they're creating in showbiz is an experience. It's a family place. This likely will be the new living room of the downtown where people come and hang out and they bowl a little, they go to the movies, they have some drinks. It's a fun place. And then the other big market research comes with Showbiz, who is a national brand, and they do their own research. They don't move into places unless they feel they can be successful. What they don't want is to move in here and fail. And the idea that they're willing to invest a developer's willing to invest and to have a lease with them, the developer has a pretty good sense, too, of what he thinks he's successful because he doesn't want to invest his money and fail.
Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Alberto Diaz, 30805 Southwest 214th Avenue. I mean, $15.7 million is a lot of money, you know? I mean, we have a lot of problems with our roads, and we have a lot of problems with a lot of different things here in Homestead, and I just feel that, you know, investing that money in something that wouldn't be so drastically changing to a downtown that I personally love. I think our downtown's awesome. You know, I like the bars we have. The Seminole Theater is great. The last thing we need is more Hollywood propaganda, you know? I mean, Seminole Theater gives us culture and stuff. I love the first phase of what you guys have done, you know? A little extravagant, you know, like this and police station, I think we're a lot, but I just feel, you know, like maybe being a little more conservative and helping the community develop through more normal things like good roads and maybe some other things would be more intelligent, safer investments that would benefit us long term. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
And Mayor, that's the beauty of this project, too, is the private entity is the one investing the $16 million in the movie theater. And also, as you think about what people need, I think what almost everybody has agreed upon is what we need is rapid transit so that people can get to their jobs. And when you think about who benefits from having a rapid transit system and a place to park so they can hop on a rapid transit and get to their job without having to wait in traffic that's causing pollution and snarling and diminishing quality of life, who benefits from that? Everybody benefits from that. Quality of life benefits, the environment benefits, the property values benefit. So what will end up happening is places that are attached to a very efficient and effective mass transit center, rapid transit, you end up seeing new development popping up all over. You see a downtown that flourishes with economic activity. And what you end up seeing is people's property taxes property values throughout the city rise in value because you now have a city that has amenities that people are attracted to. And so the nice thing about this partnership is the developer risks on the private side of the movie theater. The operator of the theater knows what they're doing, and they have to be responsible for operating a movie theater because we don't operate movie theaters and we don't know how to do that well. And then, of course, we have a garage that will be there for city needs. And so it's a really nice package, and I appreciate the residents' concern about, you know, people's quality of life and traffic. And when you have an intermodal facility in rapid transit, it really helps traffic, because as people are riding and sitting on the highway waiting for an hour, 2 hours to get to their job, you have to ask yourself the question, what is that doing to the environment?
Well, and if you go back to the very beginning, part of the requirement for the downtown survival was parking garage. It has been for many, many years. So in essence, without the parking garage component, the success of the Seminole Theater is dismal as it sits because there's just not enough street level parking. So to me, it's like we've achieved the long-term goal of a parking garage that's gone back for 20 years. And at the same time, the revitalization process has brought us a movie theater, which is an amenity that is a quality of life issue for the residents, not just on the east side, but on the west side of Homestead, which is one of those bridges that we've been trying to rebuild, across time here. So the parking garage, by itself gives us life's blood into the downtown. It also builds that park and ride transportation hub that we've been desperately trying to create so that we can encourage the county to go forward with the bus rapid transit and give us a transit solution to tie us to the rest of the county. Because right now, we all know the traffic is a problem, and this would help us alleviate, through the bus rapid transit program, alleviate a lot of the need to have to sit in traffic, because you could actually do it more efficiently through the transit package. So I think it hits a lot of spots. I think it hits a lot of the things that we've been trying to do for many, many years. Now we just got to, like you say, press the county to follow through on their end of the bargain to give us a rapid transit package that works, because what we have now is not a functioning transit solution for South Miami-Dade. This is still a public hearing. Anyone would like to come up and speak for or against, you're welcome to now. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Shelley was the motion, second by Mr. Burgess. Any final comments, questions? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Shelley? Yes. Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 18.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the purchase of property located at 46 and 50 West Maury Drive, providing for implementation and an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Matt, is Pete here, or who's handling it? Gail, are you handling this one, or?
Here, yes, I will. This is a property that was one of the parcels that the city was interested in acquiring for the parking garage. Actually, Gemma Torsivia, the Economic Development Director, was able to negotiate an option and contract with the property owner. The option expires in October, but we would like to go ahead and exercise the option, sign the contract, and proceed to closing. The purchase price is $415,000. It is somewhat more than the appraised value, but the difference, it would have cost us far more to acquire this by eminent domain. And so we were very happy to be able to negotiate this contract.
Questions from council? Any questions? This is critical to what we just spent an hour discussing, so we can't necessarily move one
This
without.
property is literally like in the middle of that stretch of Maury Drive. So this is an important parcel for us to acquire.
This is a public hearing. We're going to purchase some property to close the gap on the project that we just spoke about. Open the public hearing. I'm going to close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call. Oh, is there a motion? Moved by Mr. Burgess, second by Mr. Roth. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Yes. Tab 19.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, accepting a grant award from the State of Florida Office of the Attorney General in order to provide victim advocacy services to crime victims, approving the grant agreement, authorizing the manager to execute the grant agreement, establish a budget amount of $94,001.16 for the expenditure of grant funds, and providing for an effective date. Staff recommends that the mayor and council approve a grant award from the State of Florida Office of the Attorney General, which will fund 2 contractual victim advocates and office supplies needed. The advocates will work directly with the police department. The total amount of the grant award is $94,001.16.
Questions from council?
Jimmy's here. Jimmy's here. Thanks, Jerry.
I'm sorry? Questions from council? The question is to accept the grant for the police department, $94,000. I'll open up the public hearing. This is a public hearing. Anyone like to speak on or for or against this grant? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess? Councilman Shelley? Councilman Williams? Councilman Roth? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 20.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an agreement with Miami-Dade County, Florida for sewage disposal services, providing for implementation, providing an effective date. Just like to remind everybody to watch their mics because certain of the mics are hot and you don't realize they're hot.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, it's finally happened. We have an agreement for pump station number 1. We'd like to get this approved, and Julio, you want to say a few words? Raise the flag, what do you want to do?
Yeah, actually. Well, we are actually, yeah, we are very happy to finally come forward with this interlocal agreement with the county. It's the first step that we need to get done in order to get this pump station, decommissioned and a new pump station be built in its place. Our original contract with the county was signed in 2012, and it required us to make payments of over $200,000 a year for 20 years. This new interlocal agreement with construction of this new pump station will allow the city to stop having to make those payments, and also will also require the county to reimburse $506,000 of previous payments that we made towards improvements to their pump station. So we feel this is a win-win. We've gone over all the conditions. The conditions are the same as we had before, except for the fact that we don't have to make the annual payments for the improvements to their pump station.
Questions from council? Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second. Okay, this is a public hearing. Expansion of the pump station, going to allow the moratorium to be lifted on the southwest area, which is a significant, huge advantage for us. Time frame?
Well, next COW meeting, we'll be bringing a recommendation for the contractor, which we already have on board, and they'll start constructing by the end of the month, by the end of October.
Right. Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone like to ask any questions, speak for or against?
Hey, I just want to ask a question. What would it do to take away from or help with the capacity that we have with the overcapacity at the Homestead facility? Will this take away from that kind of, will it help with the situations?
Exactly. This will actually cure any capacity issues that we have at this time.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from the public? Close the public hearing. There's a motion and a second. Any final comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams? Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilman Shelley? Yes. Councilman Maldonado? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
That concludes the business, and tab 8 is the public comments section of the meeting. I'll open up that right now. I've got a card from Mr. Chauncey Brown. Is Mr. Brown here?
Oh my God, I need.
He left. Mr. Matthew Oakley? We got a 3-minute time.
Very good. Greetings, Mayor, council members, fellow citizens. I'd like for you to please listen closely to a little thing I have here.
When people bring stuff to me, I don't care how mad it is, how serious it is, I'm going to address it. If I find one of my guys retaliating on somebody in this community, he's history. He's out of the door. I don't play that, and it's wrong.
That was Chief Roll. I don't play that. It's wrong. By your inaction and that of Chief Roll's, you have allowed, if not ordered, the continued retaliational events against Dr. McDonough and now his wife, both in the locker room and the office, and now on the internet for the whole world to see. Shame on you. Furthermore, let's have another listen.
We also recognize that this amazing country that we live in allows the citizenry to come up and say whatever they want for the most part. And God bless America for that, because that's what we love most about this country. The fact of the matter is, We glorified democracy by hearing this and sitting here and be patient and letting our fellow citizens say what they want to say. And the reason why this chambers is so beautiful is because in this chambers we celebrate democracy. We glorify the system that we have here, the idea that elected officials, the people's representatives, sit on this dais and hear from the people that brought them here and put them here, and that they represent the idea that people can come here and say what they want.
The people can come here and say what they want. By your actions, among which trespassing Dr. McDonough and Mr. Hill, and any others you may do in the future, you have perpetrated what is considered prior restraint, which is the most serious and least tolerable of all intrusions upon the First Amendment, as found by our Supreme Court in Nebraska Press Association versus Stewart ruling. And by doing so, you've both contradicted your own words and you failed to respectably uphold your oath of office. Shame on us for letting you get away with that. On another note, I travel by the City Hall about 4 times a day, every single day, and I can count on one hand the times I have seen even one police cruiser parked in the parking lot out there. And that's in the past 28 days. But every council meeting, there usually is, now tonight's an exception, but there usually is so many police vehicles out there in the lot that citizens have no place to park. They're parking in the restaurant over there or in the other parking lot across the street. So in my not so humble opinion, ladies and gentlemen, change is coming. And maybe sooner than you think. So don't any of you guys get too comfortable in those chairs up there. And I might add a reminder.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Miss Rosemary Burchett? She left. Mr. Trulio? Julio? Vanessa McDonough?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Vanessa McDonough, and I come here tonight with a deeply disturbing issue. I feel violated by actions of some of your officers. I now fear for my life and safety, as well as that of my family. While retaliating against my husband for his disputes with the city, Homestead officers have targeted me by publishing my name, address, occupation, and place of work online. Then they crossed all lines of decency and violated Florida law by sexually harassing me online to the point of cyberstalking and committing criminal defamation against me. The screenshots that I just provided to each of you are from the website leoaffairs.com. There are repeated instances of untrue, disturbing, and downright vulgar statements being made about me. I had initially intended to come here and read some of these statements aloud to you, for the effect to see how vulgar they are. But verbalizing these statements could be misinterpreted as being disorderly, and I do not wish to be the next person trespassed or arrested for attending these meetings, so I hope instead you can take a few minutes to read through what I have provided to you. Keep in mind that these packets show only a fraction of the 130-plus comments made about me and my family on that website. And again, I warn you, they are graphic and vulgar, and of course, 100% untrue. As you review these screenshots, I hope that you, like me, are shocked that officers that have sworn to serve and protect this community are attacking an innocent person in this manner. Mayor Porter, please consider how you would feel if these awful things were said about your wife. And Chief Roll, would you tolerate these challenges to your wife's chastity? So my purpose for coming here tonight is to make you aware of this situation, if you are not already aware of these atrocious statements online. And I'm requesting the following. First, I would like a proper investigation to determine who in your department made these comments. Secondly, I need a guarantee that those involved will be properly disciplined so that similar attacks will not occur in the future. And lastly, I'm going to file an official complaint and criminal charges against those individuals responsible. I'll be providing the full packet of my complaint and evidence tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is it Frank Shawback? Mr. Sullivan?
Kevin Sullivan, 1860 Southeast 6th Court. I came here tonight to speak about an issue that I emailed each and every one of you. It concerned the utility outage, actually a utility malfunction, where it damaged my friend's house, damaged the appliances. And while I have no issue with the way the utility company, or our company, came and handled it for my friends, they were forthright. They even found them housing for that very, very hot night in a hotel. What I do have an issue with is how the actual payout came. I understand once it's happened, you turn it over to risk management. And from there, it goes to the insurance carrier. But what I outlined to each and every one of you was, how do you tell somebody in their house they have a microwave that's a few years old, it's no longer any use? It was working before the city blew it up. How do you tell them that something else isn't any good? I did have a conversation. The city manager had the assistant city manager at the time contact me, and we had a discussion. And he said, well, you know, it's like if you had an old car, they wouldn't give you a new car. Well, I happen to think that if I had a 6-year-old car sitting in the street and the utility truck hit it and knocked my headlights off, I think the city would have to put my headlights in because I couldn't operate the vehicle. We had people in a house with a family that had no extra disposable income, and the city could not step up and provide them with a grant of some sort. There's plenty of money available. You just took $4 million out of the utility fund. So I do not like the way it was handled by the administration. That's all I can say. You have an insurance carrier, you could contact the insurance carrier and tell them. But at some point, we, the citizens, should have stepped up and helped this family out. Okay. Number 2, I have no problem with the Homestead Police Department. I've been here for a long time. I admire the way they conduct business. But one thing I think you people are shortcoming in is I've heard many calls for body cameras. Now, I understand there's a cost involved with that. But couldn't we have research done where we could buy a limited amount, find funds? There's plenty of grant funds out there. We could get some of these cameras. Now, in my travels this summer, I talked to people up in South or North Carolina, and they were saying the big cost is the storage of the images. But they found some company or somebody where they store it up in a cloud. I don't know what that cloud does. But they store it up there, and it's of no real cost to the cities. So I'm asking you, look into that and bring that back to the citizens.
Thank you, sir. Stephen McDuffie.
We all know you're tired of seeing my face tonight. For the first thing that I have to say is I have some friends of mine that work for the public utilities here in the city of Homestead. I don't know if it's been brought to your attention yet, but over the last 2 weeks, 2 people have been injured working for our city public utilities, and one man was injured, and while he was not qualified to work on a light change near the VFW, and so therefore, I want to ask to Manager Gretzis and whomever is in charge over the such things, is our safety protocols following national OSHA standards, and where our workers are not being trained properly for the fact that that this man was not qualified to use a bucket truck or use didn't have the proper safety equipment or the proper certifications to even be handling these kinds of things. And I also wanted to ask, why isn't the supervisor was not given purview over this individual and supervising such work? And if they have the proper equipment under NFP 70E under those rules. So that's all I have to ask.
All right, sir. Thank you. We'll get an answer. Mr. Perry, Mark Perry? Is that Perry?
Good evening, everybody. Mark Perry, 32325 Southwest 199th Court, Homestead, Florida.
Thank you.
It's a little quieter here tonight. Dr. McDonough, well, one of the Dr. McDonoughs isn't here. I hate that I'm standing up here. This city council, the city does a lot of good stuff. The police department does a lot of good stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of great officers in this department. You've silenced Eric, at least in this forum for now. Unfortunately, what's been created by the lack of attention to this issue and the vindictive manner in which it's been handled by at least the police department, if not other employees of the city. You've created a whole lot more of us. We're paying attention. We're not speaking usually. We're not here. Most of them are home with their families right now. We're watching this. We're watching how it's being done. And we're losing trust. We're losing trust in our police department. We're losing trust in the city council. I'm going to leave that at that for now. The more important part is what Vanessa already talked about. I can't imagine, Vanessa's too decent of a person to read what she handed out. I can't imagine anyone sitting here, male, female, would be okay with that. If it's officers, let's just say it's not, but evidence points to the fact that it's officers. It's in the Homestead. They have a lot of details. I can't imagine, Mayor, I've seen you out with, and you know, it would be great if you'd look up once in a while. It's really pretty disrespectful to your citizens. I can't imagine I've seen you out with your wife, your lovely wife. I can't imagine you tolerating somebody saying that. Can't imagine what would happen if I walked up to Chief Roll when he was out with his family and said that kind of thing. If it was your daughters, if it was your wives, your mothers, whatever. The attitude that's been posted on there, again, may or may not be a police officer, that it's fair game because Eric's gone after one of their jobs. So family and children are fair game. If I go out and shoot an officer, does that mean I should expect that they go to my house, kick in the door, shoot my children, kill my dog, kill my wife? It's a horrible attitude. It's not what we expect from public servants. It's not, we hold officers to a higher standard. I get it when somebody gets mad, they do stupid things. We don't expect that from officers. The things written in here, the things they're writing, if they're really from police officers, I expect you guys to follow up. I expect you to root it out and deal with it, whether it's in public or behind the scenes. I got 41 seconds left. I better start reading. I'll skip the part I already addressed. So I'll start it because of Merguido's seizure for Merguido sticking his blank deep into the lovely Vanessa and giving her a good blanking. He will probably claim excessive force. However, Vanessa gave consent, which she never withdrew. Therefore, no civil rights violations. I'm going to run out of time. I hope you guys read it. I'm not going to have time to read it. It's only a few of the comments of 130. Take the time, read it. Mayor, read it. It really doesn't belong in this form anyway. I checked to make sure there weren't kids.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Elizabeth Miller? Just your address for the record, please.
My name is Elizabeth Miller. I live at 3424 Northeast 1st Street, Homestead. My husband is Steve Miller, a pastor at Core Community Church. He was glad to come at your request 2 months ago to serve you by praying over you. We pray for you often, and we care deeply for Homestead. It's why we moved here 5 years ago. I was a bright-eyed, optimistic white woman with nothing but trust and goodwill towards those who carry a badge and those who govern us. Today, I stand before you with a guarded heart because I have learned over the years that this power that was granted to you to serve Homestead has been violated. There is no excuse for that. Any violation of rights by those who carry badges cannot be simply canceled out by other good deeds. There must be accountability and taken responsibility for such misdeeds. Isn't this how we truly become men and women of character? Respect cannot be demanded, but it does come easily when it is earned. Do nothing to impede our trust. Your good deeds, which you have done, do not make up for your unlawful deeds. I have been witness to many of my friends being treated unfairly and with prejudice simply for looking a certain way or for championing a particular cause. A couple years ago, I was entrenched in trying to help eight Haitian children on our street who were being greatly neglected and abused. I called the police countless times, and I was grateful for their response, but discouraged by their words when they said, "This is how these kinds of people live. They will take advantage of you. You're putting your family in danger. Oh, you're the one who likes black people. I'll help you because you seem like a nice woman, but you are wasting your time." How any child is considered a waste of time and incriminated for the sins of their caregiver is despicable. And on that same note, I want to thank Vice Mayor, who is not here, for quickly responding to my post regarding the children crossing Campbell Drive without a proper crosswalk and a sidewalk connecting to the neighborhood to the charter school at Waterstone, along with the lack of a school-zone speed limit. It's incredible. I want this city to do well. I want to cheer you on. So please fight for what is good. Rather than leaving a legacy of lavish buildings, let's leave a legacy of transparency, of trust, of justice, of selfless agendas that would protect the children, the poor, and the disenfranchised that crowd our city. This city has funds to put cameras on these officers that cannot afford not to.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Carlos Perez. Is it David Delka? Barbara, she left. Chris Lewison? I'm sorry if I butchered that, apologize.
Yes, good evening. My name is Chris Lewison, 2728 Northeast 3rd Court. I'm here in support of the McDonough family. These are decent people. I go to church with them, and it really hurts me to see them suffer through what is being characterized as injustice. And what I've seen, I just would like, everyone in this council to really listen to them. And as a community, it's those elected officials, the police department, and the citizens, we have to work together to make Homestead a wonderful place for our families and our children and for future generations. Now is the time. I mean, we have an opportunity here to turn things around. Let's take the train in a different direction and do the right thing. And I've been here 15 years in Homestead, and I've seen a lot of things, a lot of growth, a lot of people, a lot of influx of people, and that has changed Homestead somewhat. But I loved it when it was more of a small town feel, and some folks remember it from way back before that. But but with a small town comes a sense of family, a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and we work together, we live together. A lot of us work, or live right here in Homestead. A lot of people don't get in the car and head north on the turnpike. So we have to make this place wonderful for our families. I'm repeating myself, but that's really important. It's really important, and let's be nice and fair to each other, treat each other with respect, and just work together to make this a better place. And I do appreciate what the police department has done for us. I have friends and family, family of friends who are on the police department. We just need to not be on opposite sides of issues. We need to be working together to solve the problems, and not allow things to get out of control. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Curtis Cooper? How you doing, sir?
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Your address?
Homestead Air Force Base has been around since 1942, and we've seen a lot of growth, and we've seen it close, and we've seen a lot of changes recently over the past 11 years since I've been a resident of Waterstone. My address is exempt, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't. There's approximately 3,000 homes on that west side of that runway, and there's constant planes taking off countless hours of the, different hours of the night. What steps can be done to reach out to the Air Force to see what can be done to implement a sound deadening wall? Planes are more active. There's ammunitions testing going on more frequently where houses are shaking. It feels like a bomb's going off. So I don't know if that's something that you guys could reach out to them to see if we could start working towards the future, maybe erecting one of those walls. I just want to give a praise. I know that it kind of doesn't happen too often, but my garbage man that's been faithfully taking care of us does a phenomenal job. His name is Roberto Valdez, so if you could reach back out to him and just say, thank you for the job that he's providing the citizens of the area that he's serving, at least in Waterstone. Always has his truck maintained, always has a smile on his face, doesn't take things personal. I want to invite you all to Waterstone. We're having on November 12th a tree lighting ceremony. It's going to be 2 to 9, just for the council. If you guys are interested and you have no other plans and want to support our community. On another note, just going back on some of the things you talked about this evening, there's a lot of continuous building going on the east side of Homestead. Things aren't in place necessarily to stop certain entities from popping up. Retirement complexes, dialysis centers, urgent cares, a lot more residences. And it really, as far as what we're doing with the showbiz community, that's phenomenal. That's going to be an awesome addition to Homestead. We just are going to be starting to turn into West Kendall, and lack of parks popping up is going to be something that's going to be on the down the road that's not addressed now. You're going to have to take care of it later, and then if there's no areas to purchase, to build, we're not going to have that availability for families that are moving down into the Homestead area. Also, too, the sports complex. I know after it turns out from the police that you guys are looking at possibly seeing what can be done for that area. Harris Field is an area that is surrounded by an industrial area. Creating something like Harris Park over in the sports complex, kind of like a tropical park, I think would be a great addition to the east side of Homestead, allowing to take away some of that extra traffic from that area and creating like a downtown Dadeland atmosphere where you have what you're looking for in the downtown Homestead area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Hall? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Hey, how you guys doing? Grew up in Homestead, went to Camel Drive Elementary, Camel Drive Junior High, Homestead Senior High. I really like where Homestead's going by growing, especially to the city manager, and what you're doing is phenomenal. With that said, I'm not privy to everything that the cops do, bad, good. We might have a couple bad ones out of the bunch, you may not. But instead of getting body cameras, because we are growing, I think that money should be put into getting more cops to come in with the growth that we have, so we can have people to move down and be safe. Because when I was doing the research, right below us in Florida City, it was one of the worst cities to live in Miami. So why don't we get more cops so people could come in and move in, get more money growing, get more people coming in. And my question for you on the city manager, the retail space on the outside of the garage, is that going to be leased by the city? By the development. For how many years?
This is just the comment section, because we'll get into that, the details. I mean,
Yeah,
that
but
and all
my thing is, I'm not privy to how the cops treat others, but if we're growing, we need to grow our force a little bit more instead of the body cameras. Body cameras could come later, but right now, I think we should, because we're going in a positive direction, I think that's what we need.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Troop, Roger, Troop, yeah. Pardon me, Trujillo.
Good evening. 72 Northwest 20th Street. Mayor, council, I'd like to know if the ordinance that passed 2015-0605, the regulations for schools, was it taken into consideration that adult education is also considered school and is affected by this ordinance? I can't lease anything out to technical schools or anything else.
If you'll give me a copy of the ordinance, I'll speak with the Development Services Director, and we can look at it. And
I'll get it.
And then also, if you could give us your contact information, maybe I should give this to you, Joe. So
I've got the contact information.
So
We'll get somebody to get back.
We'll get somebody to check it for you.
Okay, well, I don't need it for me. I think it's for everybody in the city.
Okay.
They'd like to come do business. And me that makes money off of that, but we're good?
All right, so we'll get it figured out.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's all the cards I have, so at this time, I'm going to close the public comment section. Mr. Attorney, one of the things that, we're trying to establish, clear policy, and I know our ordinance, it said that, it had to be, well, just read the portion where you have to sign in prior to.
Right. The section of our council rules says that individuals wishing to speak on matters not included in the public hearing section of the agenda, but pertinent to the city, may do so by signing in with the city clerk 30 minutes prior to the meeting by providing their name, address, and the topic they would like to speak on. I guess the purpose of the mayor calling on me is just to remind everybody we've been a little bit flexible as we've been implementing this rule in terms of the 30-minute period. But if people would just try to get their name signed in 30 minutes prior, that way the mayor has the opportunity to organize the cards and see how much time it's going to take and so forth. But just a friendly reminder to people to get signed in 30 minutes prior to the meeting.
And again, tonight, because we're trying to apply our new protocols to this new building, we took a lot of public comment cards that were taken in after what our ordinance requires. So as we move forward, again, if you want to come just under public comments where you don't want to talk about something that's specific to the agenda, we need that about 30 minutes prior to the meeting. And that way we can get organized, as Amanda said, but that's part of our ordinance, and that's what we're going to have to apply in the very near future. So when you go to the door, the clerk is there. If you come at quarters, if you come in, 5 minutes before the meeting, she's not going to be able to accept that comment card. So just for everybody's information as we move forward. Next item is the reports from the city manager. Mr. Manager, and nothing? Mr. Attorney, anything from you?
The city manager may have nothing to report, but we've been busy.
Okay.
Actually, I just want to request an executive session on behalf of Eric Stetton, Laura Snyder versus City of Homestead, which is a workman's comp case.
All right, sir. Anything else?
No, sir.
Reports from the mayor and council. Mr. Roth.
Yes.
Hold on.
Well, hold
Go
on.
ahead, sir.
Can I just add one thing to the signing in? They don't have to necessarily do it the day of the meeting. If they have issues getting here at that time and then waiting, they can come Monday or Tuesday or the week before to sign up ahead of time. Because I know a lot of these people come from work, and now that we've put it to the back end of the meeting, that it give them time the day before or Monday to sign that card. With that said, I'm going to move on to the only thing I'm going to bring up tonight, which is the Homestead Rock and Rib Fest, which is coming up October the 1st. It's only about 10 days away, a week from this Saturday. Harris Field Pavilion, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
And Jimmy, since I forgot the names of the place last time, I wrote them down, so I'm not going to forget who the 4 charities are that are receiving the net proceeds of the event. And this Patches PPEC is one of them. SOS, who's a part of the Homestead Police Department, Start Off Smart. The Mexican American Council, and Gladiator Wrestling with Coach Duck. And we've had a lot of fun with those guys over at Gladiator Wrestling, and we look forward to seeing them out there at the event. And I appreciate everybody up here for your support in the event, those that participated. And we look forward to next Saturday, October the 1st, Harris Field Pavilion, the Homestead Rock and Rib Fest. Should be a good event. Hope to see everybody out there.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Brea, any updates on the status of our much-needed entrance ramp over at 152? I know that we're at a design and build stage. I'm just wondering if you have anything new that we can share with the citizens that struggle with that intersection every day, of where we're at.
Yeah, well, as you're aware, that project was attached to the overall Turnpike expansion project, which goes all the way up to the Cutler Bay area. And right now, there's a consultant on board. They have 60% drawings. They will be sending them out to all the municipalities, not only us, but also municipalities moving north. They get a set of everything to make sure that there's no comments, et cetera. And they're moving forward. So they're moving, they have a schedule. It's going to be a design build type of process. So the idea is, that's why they tied it to the existing contract that was already out there, so that they could compress the design and construction of the project. So that's where they're at this time.
I only bring it up because I've had many frustrated people call me and ask me why they're putting walls up why can't we get a ramp put in as quickly as they're putting these walls up? So
If
that's
the
why
walls,
I
the walls are mandated requirement that every type of expansion that takes place on the Turnpike requires a wall to be put in place. Usually they put those up right in front of the construction, the heavy construction, to help also mitigate the noise that comes from the construction of the widening.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Dennis?
Yeah, Councilman Burgess, we just received the plans from them today by email, so we're going to have to review them. So they're moving forward on everything. Just to let you know, we just received them tonight.
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess to maybe Development Services and the Police Department, I noticed that on 152, Lenore is building some new homes there, and they've put a temporary construction entrance in. But unfortunately, the citizens think that's their way in and out, and they have to come in the northbound lane south a little bit to get into it. So can we do something with Lenore and have them shut that down? If they don't have a permit for it, they need to shut it down and let the people go in and out of the neighborhood correctly. And 2, they need to at least close it during non-business or non-building hours if they're allowed to have it with their permits, because it's this evening on my way here, I had a car coming down my side of the road to turn into the gravel entrance there from off of Maori coming that way. So that's going to end up being a bad situation if people are using that as their everyday in and out. So if we could get somebody to take a look at that, I certainly would appreciate it. One last thing. As you all know, my family is a very strong supporter of an advocacy group here in town called This Is the Dog, and they're having their annual fundraiser called Yappy Hour. It'll be held this year on October the 7th at the Miami Brewing Company, which is located next to the Schnebley Winery out on 217 below 296 there a little bit. The times of the Yappy Hour are going to be from 6:30 to 9:30. Tickets can be purchased in advance for a reduced rate by visiting Facebook, which is facebook.com/thisisthedog. There will be raffles and a silent auction and a let me see, what else do they have? Everyone, kids are welcome. They will have a costume contest for the dogs, and it'll be a great time. This is one of their annual fundraisers, because everything they do is a volunteer-based thing, whether it's taking dogs to the vets or the spay-neuter clinic or whatever. So if anybody can and would like to support that, we certainly would appreciate it. And with that, Mayor, I say thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we need a motion to extend the meeting, Richard? We're supposed to extend it to 8:30? I know. Is there a motion to extend for up to, not to exceed 30 minutes? Is there a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Shelley? No, nothing at this time. Mr. Maldonado, you had an item 21.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring that up at the next council meeting, but and I'll bring some information to you guys before that, more information. Basically, if you see within your packets that we have a sister city in Haiti, and so I've had some folks reach out to me, and it's something that established. But again, I'm going to give you more information on that, so that when we come at the next council meeting, we'll have a better discussion on that. So that's that, Mayor. I'd like to recognize my good old friend there, Karani Hall. We go back to school since the 3rd grade, and so this young man has been an exemplary student since I've known him. So the PhD fits him fine. Congratulations on that. I know he's been active in the community, so I'm glad to see you here and getting involved back in the community you grew up in. Question in regards to Holy Brea. I've had a few questions in regards to the exit on 320. It's the off-ramp. Have you heard anything about that? I know that we had a discussion a few years ago off of, is it 328? 328, sorry, not 320, 328th Street, the exit off the expressway. Is there any news, any updates, any word on that?
There's really no update regarding that particular exit. I remember some time ago, the Turnpike Authority basically came back and said that yes, that they would allow an exit to go there, but they would only finance half of it. They would only pay for half of it, and the other half would have to come from another entity, and that's where it's been at since then.
So if we come up with another half, then we can have a better discussion.
Correct.
Okay.
Let me say one thing too.
Yes, sir.
We have the MPO director. One of the things about these long-range plans, we're not even on the plan for that intersection. So one of the things that we need to do is get in the 5-year process to even be considered. And that we do have the MPO director coming down and going to do kind of a site survey of all the issues that are going on. And we're supposed to have the director from Miami-Dade Transit as well. So hopefully we can, point to them to the the needs of where we have the huge, the biggest issues to deal with, which is, the intersection that you've been talking about for 5 years, the intersection out at 328. So, hopefully we can get some progress going and at least get in the plan so that once funding is available, we're in the plan. Because that's a big problem. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
And no, thank you for sharing that. I think that's good. And if there's anything else that you could always please share with us, Mr. Mayor, when I know that you're involved in NPO. Also, is there any updates on the 4-laning of the 328? Where are we on that project? I've traveled down the road and it's pretty bad.
Okay, so it's going to the County Board of Commissioners this month for recommendation of approval of the award, and they should be starting construction next month.
Thank you. All right.
Many times have we heard that?
It's just, it's, all right, we'll just leave it there, okay? We won't kick the, we won't kick the dog. We're gonna leave it there. You guys are.
It's on the agenda. I saw it, so it's actually there.
Okay. A question in regards to, do we have a website in regards to the services that we're offering with the spay and neutering and over at the Harrisfield facility? The county does. Do we have a link to that on our website, Mr. Manager? We should.
Hold on, guys. Talk into the mic, please. Please, Mr. Manager.
I remember seeing it at one point. I'll double check to see if it's still on. If not, we'll put it back on.
Okay, yes, because I know that they're doing it in different places, and This Is a Dog is a great organization that's doing it as well, but I could find, I have a dog, and I thought about it, and I'm like...
You can call 311 to make appointments also.
Okay, but the information, if we could put on the website, that would be great. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams.
Yes, just one question. maybe this is for, well, I'll address to the manager. On 11th Avenue, Southwest 11th Avenue, and I think the corner is 5th Street. There's a blue house. I think, Dennis, you know what I'm talking about, the blue house that has been condemned, I believe, by code. Is that house in the process of have the demolition done on that? Or maybe that's, whoever can answer that. Yes.
I would have to check with code enforcement to see where it's at in its process.
Yeah, the reason I'm addressing, I got a call yesterday, and the grass has just grown almost a mountain of the house. And they've got rodents and, different things of that nature. I know through our process, we have to go through that whole piece, but this is a issue, a major issue. So could we have that cut and go through the process while the lot is being cut?
We'll ask Chief Roll to contact Code and start the process, assuming it hasn't been started already.
It's probably been started, but because of the weather, it's just, it's terrible. It's really, really bad. And the house has been there for, some years. So, and it's inhabitable, so I don't know where we are with that. So that'd be great to know that. But to also have action to do something about it, hopefully tomorrow. I think that's it, Mayor. That's all for me.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I only had one issue, and I apologize. I'm trying to get the letter. But Julio, I received a letter that there's a public hearing process on the Chrome Avenue expansion that's coming, through. That's going to go down Campbell. And do you remember when that was scheduled? Do you have that in? Go ahead.
I don't have the exact date with me, but I can get it to you.
I think we need to let everybody know,
Yeah,
because
we'll put it on the website or something so that people will know. Basically, it's tied to the truck bypass.
Yes, it is.
That's the portion that's on Chrome, which the drawings, I believe they're on 70% drawings already. So by the state rules, they need to have a public hearing when they reach 70%. So that's where they're at.
in a timeline guess, and I know we put a lot of pressure on you because you tell us next month. What would you estimate that at 70%, how long before we start seeing the disruption, especially on the Campbell Drive corridor, because that's the crutch of all the problem that seems to keep coming up, is that Campbell corridor, and that's going to be a major intrusion.
Right. Next month. Regarding Campbell Drive, that has a lot of right-of-way acquisition that needs to take place, and that could be a while. I mean, you're talking more than a year probably before you're going to see anything there.
Now, there's no acquisition coming down Chrome. That's basically just
Going
improvement.
down Chrome, there's none. That's why they're moving sort of faster with that portion of it. What the DOT did, they divided that project into two portions, the Chrome portion and the Campbell Drive portion. They're two separate consultants dealing with each one, and they have different timelines. What I can do, I can reach out to them and get the exact timeline so that everybody knows exactly when those things are moving.
I think it's a significant project,
Yeah.
one among many that we have, but it's going to be, and the Chrome Avenue corridor, thanks to, Steve Shelley in his position, saved us a tremendous amount of trauma.
Work. Absolutely.
Of what they were going to do there. But the trauma is going to be felt on the Campbell Drive. So if they do the improvement into 8th Street, and it'll be very little disruption, well, there'll be some, but not nearly as much as was anticipated earlier.
Campbell, yeah.
But just kind of keep us up to speed on that, because that's going to be a mess.
Mayor,
Also, yes.
I'll let you know, they contacted us to have the public meeting at the community center. I'll find out when it is for the public, and Friday I have a meeting with them, with DOT, to go over the plans and that, so I can give you some timelines.
Okay.
We're going to meet them Friday.
Well, just from a point of view of letting the public know that it's finally, after how many years, finally going to start moving forward and let them know that if they want to find out exactly what's happening, a good time to go see it is in this public hearing process, so they can actually see what the plans are.
Yes, sir, because we have a utility meeting with them on Friday morning, and I can, kind of brief you on it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shelley, you have a question?
Yeah, just on that same topic, I actually got that email. I contacted Julio today to ask some of those similar questions. One of the concerns that I had that was referenced in the email, which hopefully you guys can get some more clarity maybe on Friday's meeting, is it made indication that the project would not start till 2019 as far as actual construction, and then completion 33 or some months after that, which is longer than on the time frame I remember this talking about. When we had them here about 2 years ago or 3 years ago going through this process, they made it sound like they'd actually start breaking ground sometime in 2017 with completion by 2019. So if you guys can get some clarity on exactly where they are, and then I know I've asked to meet with them because I'd like to get a refresher on where they think they are now and what they've accomplished since we last spoke with them and where they think they're going to be. But I bring it up because we may need to bring them back before council, depending on what the answers are, to impress on them that this is very important, given all that we're doing in our historic downtown and the fact that we need to get these trucks bypassed out of the downtown area. So we may need to bring them back before us to re-encourage them to make this a priority and to move it along faster.
No, I agree, and I guess in addition to that, when all this right-of-way transfer takes place, because obviously Chrome is a state road, 8th Campbell Drive is a county road, so that's going to have to change from a county road to a state road. So there's going to be a lot of swapping around. So I want to know when we get an opportunity as a council, as an elected body, to weigh in on what happens to the property. I mean, what happens to the roadway from Campbell south through the historic district? Where does that go? What is the process for that transfer? When do the electeds get into that? And, because that's going to be a critical component of, our downtown revitalization and who basically has rights and or controls of that Chrome Avenue corridor through the city limits south of Campbell Drive. So, because, I want to make sure that we're at the table when that transfer is being talked about, so that we don't miss a boat and then, have to go back and circle back around. So if we can get ahead of that, because I know that's a transfer that's going to take place at some point in time. So that's it, Mr. Maldonado. Did you have a question?
Yes, if you would allow me one more question. Let me see well, so here's the situation. There's been, I've had a few complaints in regards to citations in regards to garbage dumping over in the 9th Avenue area of the city of Homestead, where it's kind of industrial. There's both residential and businesses there. One of the businesses there reached out to me just recently where folks are dumping on their areas. I'm sure, Mr. Councilman Shelley, you know this situation. I'm sure you heard it before. Someone's dumping on their land and they're getting a citation and they have to remove it and then pay for it. Are we doing something in regards to that? What's going on with that? Anyone want to take a stab at it? It was brought up again. I'm reminded again, and it seems like an unfair thing. Unfortunately, I told the business owner that just get a camera on your, you're going to have to put cameras on your location and at least have it recorded so that you could show some proof. But that might be the only way he might get out of the citation. So can you speak about that a little bit? And is there some way to combat it, or?
Well, that is part of the code. The code requires that you are responsible for the area within your property, whether you were the one that did the dumping or somebody else did the dumping. But yes, I mean, any type of evidence that somebody could have showing that somebody else is doing this in their property would obviously help, their case when it comes. But it's a code violation. It's not tied to the solid waste department per se. It's a code violation because of the way the code is written, basically.
Do they have any means in where they could challenge or protest or bring in or make aware or make a record, is there a process there so we could start noting that, or some type of process to kind of help these folks? Because it's from my understanding, it's it's been bad, but it's been growing lately.
Oh, all those cases are heard at the special masters meetings, which you can bring up your case, and there's somebody that basically makes a decision regarding whether or not to enforce the penalties or what type of penalty will be enforced. But there is a venue to speak your side of the story.
Councilman Shelley, you've been dealing, has this been happening in your area? I mean, and I say your area because I think that the Northwest as well as the Southwest section are both areas that do not have like gated communities like the East Side, and where you're closer to the Redlands, closer to Chrome Avenue, and you have these work trucks that are finishing their day and looking for a location to dump off their trash, and so they could, it's more money in their pocket. So, fortunately, the business owners and residents are the ones having to foot the bill for everyone else. And so, I kind of wanted to bring it up. I definitely not fair, so obviously it's not fair. We have to talk about it, or at least address it.
Yeah, I mean, the issue that came up, I think last time we had this discussion, myself and Councilman Williams, and it dealt with the city-maintained right-of-ways. And so we had some right-of-ways and alleyways that were running behind people's yards, and people were dumping, just like you're stating. Code enforcement was citing them, saying it was city property, that they had no ability to fence in and defend, but they were still being cited and having to pay for any of those fines and or the cleanup cost. And so I thought it was unfair. I think Councilman Williams also stated that was unfair. And we kind of had that discussion, but we never went any further. I don't think we ever changed any code sections. That was the last time we really had the discussion as it related to that type of issue. Now, actually dumping on individual residences or businesses, I've gotten less complaints about that because typically people call that in. They'll file a police report or something to that effect, and then that starts the other processes. But that was the last time we had the real issue, which was city-owned property that was being dumped on, but still being cited to the residences.
Mr. Williams, you would like to chime in as well?
You have the floor. You want Mr.
Yeah,
Williams?
go ahead.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I think we asked the staff to bring that ordinance back so we can look at changing that. I don't know, we've never, somehow it got lost between Texas, showbiz, and building somewhere.
What ordinance, did you say, do you remember when you asked us to bring back so we can go back to the record and find out what specifically you asked for? Because it doesn't, I mean, does anybody
had to
remember that?
be early in the year.
We were in other locations still.
Mr. Shelley?
It was the ordinance. We had some discussions, and I don't remember the basis of the discussions now, but we had the discussions about the alleyways that were behind people's properties that the city owned. A lot of them were grassy alleyways. We were citing people for high grass. We were citing people for resident homeowners for people that were dumping on that. And we were saying that even though it was owned by us, it was a responsibility of the homeowner to keep it clean and to haul away the stuff or pay the citation if they got cited. And we thought that was a very unfair thing since we own the property and the person couldn't fence that property in. So we had this long discussion about it. I don't remember the context now.
Yeah, it was, I think the ordinance is 2009, back in June.
Right.
2009.
Yes.
That's when you had this discussion?
No, we had the
No,
discussion
that's the
earlier
ordinance.
this year, right? I think it was January, February of this year.
All right, well,
Yeah, we
Liz,
ain't been
I
here
guess
that
Liz
long.
can help us search through the record and find out what you guys asked for, and we'll bring something back.
I'm telling you, the ordinance is June 2009, whatever that ordinance is. I know it's, because I've read it several times.
I mean,
But
like I
what
said,
we're
it doesn't ring a bell, but I certainly will research the record and find out what you asked
The
for.
ordinance that he's speaking of, it actually made the right-of-way the responsibility of the property owner. So even if it was a sidewalk, even if it was between your property line and the roadway, all of those things, that was passed saying that that's no longer a city problem, it's a homeowner problem. And so in some cases, I understand why we do that because there is a cost associated with some of those maintenance. But in this particular case we were discussing with that alleyway, it seemed like a very unfair application of the rule.
Right, and also in the alleyway, in those right-of-ways, that it wasn't like the city gave the property in great condition, you know, but it was an ordinance that was passed. And so if the sidewalk was cracked, whether it was what used to be the city's responsibility to repair it, now it became the homeowner's responsibility. It didn't necessarily mean that they got the property in that kind of condition. So I think that was, and especially for the Southwest and Northwest, because we have older communities, and we have more alleyways and that. So for the east side, you know, that the main thoroughfare, I think even Dennis, you chimed in when we talked about who keeps control of those areas, and that what would the cost be for the city to pick up that. And I'm remembering the conversation now. But yeah, so that, I think, to go to your question, we've always had an issue of illegal dumping in our older communities, because there's no way that there's not many gates to secure, our property like the east side. You have to go into, but for us, especially on what street is that? That's 9th and 4th. I mean, it was real bad. They would dump right on the side of those apartments and keep going, so, and then I think we even said that since we have cameras in certain areas, we would put cameras up that we had that will be, when we approved that for, I think, the police officers, to be able to monitor those areas to see where the illegal dumping was happening more than others. So, I mean, it was a whole cluster of conversation about it. But to answer your question, it's still a major issue for my district, at least. And I know for the Northwest, we're not that far apart.
So the manager, we'll identify that and then bring it back at a future, the clerk will.
Assuming there was direction given, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, I don't recall, I may not have been at the meeting, I don't know what I may have and I don't recall it, but we'll go through the record, find out what you directed, and we'll bring back whatever you directed.
We'll go back and revisit. Go back and revisit the whole discussion. Okay?
Right, and if you didn't direct anything, then we'll come back and we'll
look
ask
at
you what specifically you want.
You have the floor, Mr. Maldonado.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you. Yeah, so, I mean, just if we could bring it back and pick up on that discussion as a
Unless,
whole.
if you have if you have something specific in mind that you want, you can tell us now, and we'll start drafting an ordinance. I mean, it doesn't matter really what you said the last time.
Right.
If you have a specific idea of what you want, tell us now, and we'll start. It's not a big deal.
All right, I would just bring, Elizabeth, when you bring that up, and I guess if you could send it to us, I could read it, revisit it, and see if there's anything that needs, and any addition to address the issues. But definitely, it's happening again. And I feel real bad when folks reach out to me that are business owners, that are landlords to apartments, and, they're getting fined and having to foot the bill to remove this, and it, wasn't their fault. And so, I shrugged my shoulder and said, and say, not giving them an answer, as a representative, I need to give them a better answer. So, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, sir. I had a lot of business tonight, didn't I? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Hold on 1 second.
Hold on. One more? Hey, what?
I got a request to.
Go.
Thank you. I got a request. Apparently, over the weekend, we lost an employee from the utilities department, a dispatcher. And I don't know if Barbara or Christy, do you guys want to say anything about it? They just wanted to wish him. Yeah, you do?
We're just, our prayers are with the family. He passed away at home, and he'll definitely be missed. So
How long
thank
did he
you.
work for the city?
He had been with the city for about 8.5 years.
8.5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad to hear when we lose one of ours. Well, thank you. Thank you, Christy.
A motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Second? All in favor? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.